Welcome, everybody, to a special edition of Extreme Radio presented by Grace Point Healthcare. Go to gracepointhealthcare.com. Mention your band Extreme. Request your appointment online. $20 off your new patient office visit fee. Grace Point Healthcare. Modern medicine the old-fashioned way, and presented by Jets Pizza of Springfield, Fort Campbell, Clarksville, and Goodlettsville. Let's get Jets. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as we mentioned on the previous episode of Extreme Radio, this is a special edition. We have received a copy of the 2020 TSIAA bylaws. James has those on his laptop.
We have acquired them.
Yeah, we acquired them. We received them. We acquired them, yes.
Acquired sounds better.
Zachary has a copy in front of him of the 2017 Middle Tennessee Athletic Conference bylaws. Those, as far as we have been told, or we were told in 2019 that they were up to date, and since they didn't release any 2020 bylaws except for the rebranding. Before we get into this, I also have the TSIAA handbook, which is essentially their bylaws, in front of me, and let me just ask right off the bat. The news dropped on Wednesday by not even a press release to the public. It was just a change of the name.
How did you find it?
It was literally I woke up, I opened Facebook, and it said Tennessee State Independent Athletic. And at first I thought the TSIAA changed their name.
Yeah, because you texted me, you're like, TSIAA changed their name. I'm like, that would be big news.
Yeah, I know. I look at it. It was like, it said 15 minutes ago when I woke up, and I was partially asleep, so that's why I thought. And then I looked.
You wake up and check Facebook?
I looked at all
you
my
don't wake up and
No, I wake up and check TikTok.
Oh,
No,
I check Twitter.
I look at all my notifications. But anyways, it was the first thing on my Facebook feed. I'm like, and half asleep, I say, hey, they changed their name. And then I try to look up Middle Tennessee Athletic Conference, and then it's gone. It's the name changed and a profile picture. So
It just went.
yeah.
Gone.
So that's how the news broke Wednesday. Is it just suddenly showed up without any press release, nothing. So
And I've been told that member schools just got an email out of the blue.
yeah, they got an email out of the blue.
I haven't even seen it.
You haven't seen it? I got it.
I would love to see a copy of it.
I got it. So let's read. Good evening. In the midst of all the challenges that this pandemic has brought, we have been hard at work behind the scenes trying to improve our conference in a multitude of ways. We are so thankful for those who have paved the way in the past, starting with Hugh Harris for getting the league up and running all those years ago. Without the vision to have a conference of small independent schools, we wouldn't be where we are today. There have been many others who have put their heart into this league through the years to make it the respected conference that it is. We have begun to build on the foundation they laid. Several months ago, we started the process of moving towards having our conference become a state association. We want schools to have the opportunity for a state championship. Was it not already a state championship?
I guess not.
I'm not sure.
I've always
So now
called
they have.
it.
So they went from 0 quotation mark state championships to 2 state championships.
Yeah. That's.
I guess they called it a conference championship.
Yeah, that's a debate for another day. Our association will look to serve the entire state of Tennessee, not just a portion of it, which I mean it already has, but it was just branded as Middle Tennessee. We want to welcome other independent schools from around the state, which they always have. Effective immediately, we will be getting a facelift by way of a name change. MTAC will now be known as TSIAA, Tennessee State Independent Athletic Association. Our new website will be up and running in just a few days, and this email was sent on September 12th. No, it was sent September 9th, and their website still is working on some stuff, so they're still working on it. Our new website, amazing features to the website you will love. Thank you to everyone who has sent their high-resolution logos for your schools. If you have yet to someone do so ASAP. Our social media will be brandishing the below new logo, which it has. We will also be transitioning our emails moving forward using this email.
It's almost like you're locked out of the new website if you go to it.
Yeah.
You can't do anything on it except send them a message.
Yeah, it says that they're working on stuff.
And I've withheld myself from doing so.
We have also attached the revised bylaws for your review. We are so excited for what this will mean for this association conference moving forward. We look forward to the growth that will come from this change. We are also looking forward to having our first state champions this season, which, again, did they not already have those before? These are exciting times, and I'm happy to serve you in any way that I can. John Horner, Executive Director, Tennessee TSI.
So it's not president anymore. It's executive director.
Used to be president.
And that leads into what we're going to do while we're reading these new bylaws, because all throughout it says executive director, and we'll get to that. So instead of saying executive director, we're going to say John Horner.
Mm-hmm.
And that way there's no ambiguity who it's talking about.
Yep.
I also –
yes.
Can I just – it's kind of weird that they singled out And it's not that I don't have a problem with it. They singled out starting with Hugh Harris for getting the league up and running all those years ago, but then there's no mention of Scott Dorsett, doing a great job with the league, or even, Reed McFadden and Tim Pettit's tenures.
They were different presidents. Now, of course, Reed McFadden, he started in, was it 2016, 2015? I think it was somewhere around there.
I think it was 16. No, it was 17.
Yeah, 16, 17. 17 is when Curry Ingram pulled out of the conference. They officially
So it was
withdrew all the sports.
16 and then yeah, okay.
Yeah, and then
because then 17 was the first year that the championship wasn't at Curry Ingram.
Yeah, and
so he started in June of 16.
Uh-huh.
Went through, and then Tim Pettit took over for him. He
for his
served.
Term, yeah, and then Tim was reelected, and then John Horner
and then
was
stepped
supposed
away,
to take over.
and then Horner somehow took over. But anyways, all right.
All right, so
that's the email.
Let me just look up something real quick, just to make sure that I got this right. Let me make it sure.
So you got a copy and I didn't.
Well, no, it's in our email.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it is the one attached with the.
I didn't even see it.
It was the one attached in there, but I'm making sure I get this right. So from what I'm looking at, with nonprofit organizations, you can look up on the Tennessee Secretary of State, the Business Information Search. You can look up information on business, regardless of if they're profit or nonprofit. You can look at that stuff. And I'm looking to see if I can get this pulled up. I don't know if it's going to work with me. It may or may not. Actually, wait a minute. I think it's there. There we go. I think I may have gotten it. So basically, with this, right now, I'm pretty sure they are both the Middle Tennessee Athletic Conference and the Tennessee State Independent Athletic Associations. They are both separate companies. I think I can't tell if they change their state licensees. I'm trying to look here. Let's see.
But we do know that TSIAA or TSIAA, I'm gonna call it TSIAA. We do know that they are registered as a nonprofit.
Yeah, they're registered as a nonprofit, as is the Middle Tennessee Athletic Conference. I'm looking to make sure I got the right thing on here. Yeah, so as far as I'm aware, they're two separate organizations.
So that begs the question: if you were in MTAC, other than this email, how do you know that you're in the new league?
Other than email. So that's the interesting thing. We talked to multiple sources, multiple school members. Nobody knew about the rebranding. Nobody heard about it.
Just out of the blue.
The question that's been brought up is that we paid membership fees to MTAC, and so how does that translate over when, at least according to the Tennessee Secretary of State, both of those are different. Both those organizations are different entities. They're different businesses. So if we paid membership fees to MTAC, then we didn't pay membership fees to the TSIAA, technically speaking. But it depends on what the legality of that is. But more importantly, schools said they didn't know about the change. They didn't vote on it. They didn't vote on this rebranding, which begs the big question of, if it wasn't voted that way and they're releasing these new bylaws and this new name and everything, then why do they have to be loyal?
Yeah. Well, let's get into the bylaws. Let's go. Let's look at what the new ones say, line by line, what the old ones say, and then if TSIAA mentions that area in their bylaws.
Yep.
All right. So obviously, right off the bat for the new bylaws, you have a table of contents.
Mm-hmm.
And then
when you said line by line, you literally meant line by line.
Hey, breaking it down.
Fair enough.
So under their Constitution, Article 1, Organization, Section 1, Name. This private organization is an association of small schools and shall be known as the Tennessee State Independent Athletic Association, the TSIAA.
Yep.
What does it say for the first line on the bold ones?
Article 1, Organization, Section 1, Name. This organization is an association of small schools and shall be known as the Middle Tennessee Athletic Conferences.
So name change, and then in the new ones, they've actually added private.
Mm-hmm.
So they're saying they're private.
They're saying they're private. And in the TSSAA, it says the name of the corporation shall be Tennessee Secondary School Athletic Association, and hereafter shall be referred to TSSAA. So they refer to it as a corporation.
Old ones say organization. This one says private organization.
Okay. So that all right.
So they're claiming to be private.
Mm-hmm. All right. Continue.
Section 2, purpose and goals. TSIAA exists, and that's what I'm going to call it, exists to assist member schools in providing quality athletic programs for students. We will implement fairness and organization within the competitive framework, and we will create a culture of excellent sportsmanship in everything we do.
Okay. Yours?
That's all of them?
Section 2 on your purpose and goals.
Just the let's see.
That's
Just that
other
top
than the
part
common
under
goals,
section
yeah.
2, and then we'll go down through.
Oh, okay. Section 2, purpose and goals. The MTAC exists to assist member schools in providing quality athletic programs for students. We will implement fairness and organization within a competitive framework, and we will create a culture of excellent sportsmanship in everything we do.
Okay, so a copy and paste with the name change.
And let's see. The purposes of the corporation shall be as stated in the Charter of Incorporation, and in addition to simulate and regulate interscholastic athletic competition among the member schools in accordance with the standards established by those schools in the TSSAA bylaws.
Okay.
That's the purposes. You want the mission? Because they have a separate section. They have purposes and then mission. For TSSAA.
Go ahead. Well, because we've already read the mission.
Yeah.
All right. The mission of the TSSAA is to serve its members by providing leadership and coordination for the administration of interscholastic athletics, which will enhance the educational experiences of students. The TSSAA will promote participation and sportsmanship to develop good citizens through interscholastic athletics, which provide equitable opportunities, positive recognition, and learning experiences to students while maximizing the achievement of educational goals.
So what's the first part that talks about academic?
Academic leadership and coordination for the administration, which will enhance the educational experience of students.
Okay, so enhance the educational. So there's nothing speaking to education.
Okay.
Okay. In order to accomplish these goals, TSIAA will govern the following: competition in middle school athletics, which a championship is offered.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they.
Is there anything about middle school?
Is that
in there?
one?
In order to accomplish these goals, the MTAC will govern the following: competition in middle school athletics, within which a championship is offered.
Okay.
And TSSAA doesn't do middle school. That's TMS.
Yes, that's a completely
TMSAA.
separate
It's a
organization.
completely separate
they're
organization. Which is understandable because the
Yeah.
schools that are in TSIAA have all one building, one
Yeah.
school. So it's not separate middle schools,
K
high
through
school.
12,
Yeah. Competition in varsity sports unless the team is participating within the rules of a TSIAA board-approved organization or association. Other requests can be submitted to the board.
Copy paste.
Okay. And TSSAA shouldn't have anything.
No,
like that.
not really, because after the name and purpose, it doesn't name anything there. It goes right into the athletic districts in their next article.
Okay.
So
we'll see if there's if anything talks about divisions or anything.
which it does.
In TSIAA and the other bylaws. Uniform playing rules and standards of eligibility, conduct, and competition. The NFHS will govern any rule not addressed in the bylaws.
Copy paste.
Safeguards for the health, safety, and well-being of players, coaches, and officials.
Copy paste.
Standards of
Copy
conduct
paste.
and penalties for noncompliance as scheduled league meetings.
Copy paste.
Okay. All right. Looks like next thing is membership.
Okay. Participation.
Mm-hmm.
Membership in TSIAA is open to all schools that are approved upon application review of the Executive Board of Directors.
Which we'll get into that in a little bit. What does it say on yours for participation?
Oh, wow. Membership in the MTAC is open to all schools that are approved upon application review of the directors and a majority vote of current league members.
Okay.
Okay.
So they have now removed
They removed the authority
member
of the
schools. Well, member schools voting on whether or not a school is allowed, and it's now up to the Executive Board of Directors.
And we'll get into that in a little bit, but that's a preview of
What
taking
is
the power
what does
away from the schools.
TSSAA say about membership? How to get in?
Let's see. Election, legislative council. Let me see if let me try a document search on this.
If I'm not mistaken, I think you just pay your dues.
Let me see. Control F member.
I think you have to get voted in too.
Get voted in.
But they also have their meeting. They're like
That's
the,
true.
the
Yeah,
meetings,
yes.
the monthly meetings, and then they actually put out the minutes
Mm-hmm.
of we're voting on
Yep.
what this school is applying
That's right.
to join. So
Yes.
what does it say, Spence?
Let's see. The Constitution. I'm looking just by the keyword membership. I'm seeing if there's anything. Let's see. Affiliated member. A school that has all privileges and responsibilities of membership is an affiliated member. It doesn't have. Let me see if they.
But how do you
Yeah,
apply?
Here we are, membership and athletic program. Membership. Any secondary school in Tennessee, which includes grade 9 and or higher, which is approved by the State Department of Education. State Department of Education approved agencies. They must be in category 1, 2, or 3. Advanced Ed and or Southern Association of Independent Schools, both non-public and public. Desiring membership at TSSAA may make application to the Board of Control. Prior member schools that continue to serve students within the state of Tennessee may also make application to the Board of Control. Contracts for membership shall be approved or rejected annually by the Board of Control.
Okay.
So
And-
go ahead.
So the Board of Control is who?
The Board of Control, that's actually back
We'll
up
get
this.
down. We'll get to
Yep.
the board part of it.
Yep, so it's by the Board of Control.
So, upon entering the league, new member schools will have a probationary period for the current school year. During the probationary period, schools may fully participate in league play if they're in compliance with the TSIAA Constitution and bylaws. In order for a team to be postseason eligible, the team needs to be voted into the conference prior to the scheduling meeting of that sports season.
Copy paste.
Okay. Memberships will be voted on by the executive board per application. Here we go. Per application submitted. So memberships will be voted on by the executive board, which you said applications will be voted on by
The Board of Control.
Control.
Yep.
So you only have 3 parts. I have 4 parts. So I'll read C and I'll read my D.
Okay.
C. Schools approved for membership shall be given a vote in all league decisions after completion of probationary year. D. Memberships will be voted on once a year at either the biannual spring or fall general meeting.
So again, the old bylaws give the powers to the schools, but the new bylaws take it away.
Go straight to the executive board.
Yep. That's okay. All right, next. Next, what you got, James?
Section 2, good standing. Fees. For a school to be a member in good standing, it must pay all athletic membership fees established by the stated deadlines.
Copy paste.
Copy paste, yeah, and the same thing. The same thing. Member dues shall be paid no later than September 1st. It shall be for the school year, August 1st through July 31st. There's a $5 per business day late fee charged to any schools that fails to remit its membership dues by September 1st.
Grievances. All grievances occurring within the current school year must be addressed and resolved by TSIAA board members.
Copy paste.
But it says MTAC board members, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Correct.
Okay.
MTAC board members. Do they have anything in this about? Oh, let me look. Do they have
If
anything?
there's grievances.
Let's look here. Grievance. They don't have that specific keyword in there. Let me see if maybe dispute. In all contracts between school. Okay, that's a contract. That's a contract thing. Under contracts that aren't in writing. Okay, that's specifically on contracts, which I don't know about. Let me try protest.
Well, that's later on.
Okay, yeah,
I believe.
nothing's on there about disputes. There's a clause in there that basically says if there's something about the contracts that the schools make about them, but
Well, you have to have a 2-year contract with TSSAA.
yes,
Or you forfeit being able to be postseason eligible, I believe, in all your other sports. For example, that's why the web school couldn't pull out of TSSAA after last season. Because it would affect the other sports that they have
Yep.
in TSSAA.
yeah, because they only had football in. They only had football in MTAC.
So Section 3, sanctions. A member school may be suspended or placed on probation for any violation of the Constitution, bylaws, and association policies. A school cannot be disciplined in this manner without receiving a written notice at least 10 days prior to league action. This can only occur by the majority vote of the executive and secondary boards.
The only difference is it says this can only occur by majority vote of directors/officers.
TSSAA. Let me see that.
Does it say Constitution, bylaws, and association policies?
Oh, that's
Up near
everything.
the top?
Everything's copy and paste.
Okay.
It says a member school may be suspended or placed on probation for any violation of the Constitution, bylaws, and association policies.
Okay.
And then the 10-day
So it's
thing.
copy and paste. Okay.
I'm not see. Let's see. Homeschool rule, preamble, enrollment, academic rule. They do. Let's see. They have academic rules. Let's see.
I don't think that's part of it though.
Yeah, suspended or placed on let me try the keyword probation. See if that gets me anything. Probation. Okay, so this is under the executive director. The executive director can put probation to an individual sport and athletic program. That would be in a result of a fine of $500 annually. To a total athletic program, it would be $1,000 annually. You can do restricted probation.
So they do have an executive director, which I believe is Bernard Childress.
Yes,
yes,
he's the
correct.
TSIAA executive. Probation and/or let me see if there's anything else. So the executive director has the authority to put probations including on stuff. It doesn't specify how those probations are. I think it's based here. It says the executive director shall initiate investigations, conduct hearings, collect information, render decisions, and fix penalties based on the information provided to the staff and in accordance with the rules and regulations of the TSIAA. And such decisions shall be subject to review by the Board of Control on appeal by the principal of the member school involved.
Okay.
So,
lesser penalties specified by this Constitution shall be imposed and/or confirmed by John Horner. Horner may designate penalties already written in the regulations.
Lesser penalties specified by this Constitution shall be imposed and or confirmed by a majority vote of directors/officers. The president may designate penalties already written in the regulations.
Okay.
Or
So again, they've changed from president to executive director, and it said director and it said
board
president
members.
and board members.
Board member majority, and that's the same thing. Same thing here in the TSIAA. Any decisions the executive director makes, they are subject to review by the Board of Control on appeal by the principal. So the executive director can make those decisions, but the question is, more so, TSIAA, John Horner can make those decisions, but the question is, if there is an appeal, is he the judge, jury, and executioner, or does it go to the Board of Control?
Exactly. Well, and there's no mention of that. Article 3, Administration, Section 1, Officers and Representatives. The makeup of the TSA board shall consist of executive director, assistant executive director, administrator, treasurer, and 2 board members. In addition to the executive board, there will be a secondary board consisting of 5 representatives from TSA member schools and 2 outside board members. So your executive board, executive director, assistant executive director, administrator, and 2 board members, and then a secondary board, 5 representatives from member schools and 2 outside board members. No specification on what role those 5 representatives for the secondary board need to be in those schools. No specification on that, and then 2 outside board members, no specification on that as well.
Before I comment, what does it say on MTAG? Yeah.
Just a quick question. When was Horner elected?
He became president.
I don't know that he was elected.
That's the question. So from what I understand of it, John Horner became president the day after the MTAC football championship in 2018 because Tim Pettit resigned.
But the question is, was he elected?
I don't know. My guess is no.
What I'm hearing is it's an election year.
If there's any term
Technically,
in there,
the election year should have been this past summer.
Yeah. Technically, this was the election year. I will say, conversation we had earlier with the league president, I asked, "Are you up for re-election?" And he directly said, "No."
Okay.
So
I'll go ahead and read the board. The makeup board of the MTAC shall consist of the president, vice president, treasurer, secretary, league administrator, and school representatives. All schools will have 1 representative that shall count as the official voice and must be either the headmaster or athletic director unless a letter is submitted to the president of the MTAC giving permission to vote.
So a letter can be submitted to the president giving someone else from the school the permission to vote, but that doesn't mean that person is part of the board.
Right.
Correct, yes.
Right.
Okay.
So here's what I will say. That's the interesting thing. I believe John Horner was treasurer of the on the MTAC board. He represented Lancaster before he was elected president. And the question,
how long was he treasurer? Because
I think Lancaster officially joined in football. They joined in football in 2018, but the question is how long was he treasurer, which we don't know because
how did he?
Notes.
Yeah. Anyways.
But in terms of TSIAA, well, again, interesting note there. They're saying each school has a member voice. New bylaws say schools don't have a voice.
Well, it says that there's the executive board and then the secondary board. So it'd be interesting to see what all the secondary board can participate in. Can
But think about it. There's only 2 members on the permanent executive board who makes the decisions, and then there's there's 2 outside. Well, I think we'll get to that. Okay.
Well, no. So the executive board is John Horner, whoever the assistant executive director
Jordan
is.
Flanders. He was vice president of MTAC and president of football operations.
So
I'd imagine
possibly
he's-
administrator treasurer,
Jessica Bezers.
and then 2 board members.
And probably Brian Sweat is still on the board from what I was directly
From what
told.
we've been told.
And Joey O'Day.
Okay.
That's what I've been told.
So 2 people from Lighthouse on the executive board,
Not Lighthouse.
or Lancaster.
One Lancaster,
rather.
one formerly
Actually,
Lighthouse.
3 Lancaster.
Yeah, 3
President,
Lancaster.
executive director, administrator treasurer, and one of the board members.
Yep.
And then there's the secondary. Like I said, I'm interested. We'll have to see. Like, for instance, the first time secondary board is mentioned is under sanctions. A school cannot be disciplined in this manner without receiving a written notice 10 days prior to league action. This can only occur by a majority vote of executive and secondary. So the secondary board that has 5 representatives from member schools and 2 outside board members, they can participate in voting on taking
Appeals.
action taking action against a school,
Mm-hmm.
disciplining a school,
Okay.
or placed on probation.
Okay. In terms of TSSAA, well, they have several. So,
Did we go over what? Did we go over this
Whoa,
part
wait,
on the
okay,
old
wait.
ones?
So on section 1, officers and
Section 1A.
so
so the board.
there's
yeah,
a
morning.
big cutout from MTAC.
Okay.
So I'll read what this says. B, president shall be elected by member schools every 2 years. The term limit is 2 consecutive terms. The president shall preside over all meetings. The president shall oversee all league activities. The president and officers shall enforce the Constitution, bylaws, and policies when necessary. C, the treasurer and president shall oversee the conference's finances.
Uh-huh.
D, league administrator see amendment.
Okay. So that's A, B, and C. So B for TSIAA bylaws, or
Is-
Constitution
Is the
rather,
secondary board member.
says secondary board members shall be appointed upon application sent to John Horner for approval. Members will serve a 4-year term. They are able to apply for consecutive terms. The executive and secondary board officers shall enforce the Constitution, bylaws, and policies when necessary. It will be the responsibility of the executive board to choose their successor, which will need to be approved by the remaining executive board members in the event that they step down from their position.
So John Horner is permanent president, permanent
Until
executive
he
director.
decides he's done, or any of the other board members, Jessica,
If it's
if
Jordan Flanders.
it's Jordan Flanders, if it's Joey O'Day, Brian Sweat, no matter if any of them decide to step down, the other 4 have to approve that person taking their place. It says nothing about the secondary board having a say so in that.
It doesn't. Yeah, and MTAC, the board vote. The board vote.
The
on
board,
which
and you said B says what?
President shall be elected by member schools every 2 years. That's why I was asking about when he became president.
Right.
To my knowledge, let me clarify. I was told that the board chose John Horner to be president because they believed that he was the most qualified for it. That was back in 2018. That was
So
what I
that-
was told by one board member. So
So
my wonder is if that was a formal election, it was informal. We don't know because they don't publish meeting notes.
Okay,
Their
but
meetings are not public.
he was elected in 2018.
He was appointed.
He was appointed.
So
He was appointed, but he wasn't elected.
That's the
so
question.
there was going to be an election year this year, and then new conference.
Right. Anyways,
Yeah.
C for me says administrator, treasurer, and John Horner will oversee the conference's finances.
All right. TSSAA. The administrative authority of the yep.
Can I interject? What does C say for you under finances? For the
I think it's
finances
a
part?
copy and paste, except to changing the titles.
On C, on officers
Finances.
and finances. Where's C?
I think
Well,
yours
it
is
might
D.
be D. Yeah.
Yours is D with.
What
the
is your C?
finances.
What does C say for you?
Under officers and representatives.
Yeah.
The treasurer and president shall oversee the conference's finances.
Okay. So that's
Okay,
copy
so
and
they,
paste.
yeah, copy paste. They just changed it. Okay.
So they went from A, B, C, and D
To
in the
A, B,
old
C.
ones to A, B, and C. What's the one they got rid
League
of?
administrator.
Okay.
They said Lee Administrator C.
C amendment. Okay. Gotcha.
Because they probably made that amendment in 2017 before they added one fully.
Okay. So what does TSIAA say?
It is way different.
Let's get into it.
This is Article 3, they have a full article dedicated to this.
Okay.
Board of Control. Section 1, Administration. The administrative authority of the TSIAA shall be vested in a Board of Control composed of 12 members. This Board of Control shall be composed of 4 representatives from each of the 3 grand divisions of the state who shall be elected to serve for a period of 3 years. The term of office shall be staggered such that the terms of 4 members of the Board of Control, 1 from 2 grand divisions and 2 from 1 grand division of the state, shall expire each year. The election shall take place in an annual meeting of the schools in each grand division.
So there's nothing about being on the Board of Control and choosing your successor. That has to be approved by the rest
As
of the
far
Board
as
of
I'm
Control.
aware. Election. This is section 2. In each grand division, there shall be a minimum of 1 independent school representative. So, basically, because it's secondary state, every school has 1 representative. Only administrators of member independent schools in that grand division shall be eligible for election to the independent school seat. Each member school of the grand division that is represented at the meeting by the principal or other administrator shall be entitled to 1 vote for each independent school seat to be filled at the meeting. Administrators from all member schools shall be eligible for election to the other 3 seats. Nominations shall come from the schools within the athletic district, and only the members of that athletic district may vote for their representative on the Board of Control. Each member school of the athletic district that is represented at the meeting by the principal or other administrator shall be entitled to 1 vote for each seat to be filled at the meeting. In the event of a tie vote, all members in that grand division represented at the meeting shall continue to vote until the tie is broken. The term of office for members of the Board of Control shall begin December 1st, and all members of the Board of Control must be full-time employees, minimum of 100 school days, who are principals, assistant principals who devote full-time duties to administration, head of schools, school-level athletic directors who have achieved a minimum CAA recognition through the NIAA, district-level athletic directors, same achievement of a minimum CAA recognition through the NIAA, or director of schools. District-level athletic directors, county and city superintendents of no more than 1 4-year high school or senior high school shall be eligible to serve. No individual can serve as a member of the Legislative Council and Board of Control at the same time. So essentially, everybody has a voice. Everybody on the board has, everybody that is a member has a
And
voice.
looking at Lancaster's website, Joey O'Day is a board member of the school.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Where do they have a list of the faculty?
They do.
Do they?
Yeah, it's on their It's on their website. Yeah, you look at their website, LancasterChristianAcademy.org, and you go to
About?
academics faculty. Yeah.
Okay. So,
Right there.
John Horner, Director of Operations.
Yeah. He's Director of Operations. Joey O'Day is Athletic Director and Dean of Students. Jason Bragg is Assistant Athletic Director and Physical Education Teacher. And Kevin O'Day is their Headmaster.
Okay.
So, so Kevin O'Day is Headmaster. So, at least TSIAA bylaws.
Standards, yeah.
Yeah, at least TSIAA standards, it would have to be either Joey or Kevin. That's at least TSIAA. So,
Anyways.
yeah, and then the officers of the Board of Control shall be a president and a vice president. These officers shall be elected annually by the members of the Board of Control and each shall perform the duties usually required of the office. The president and vice president of the Board of Control shall serve as the president and vice president of the TSIAA. The president of the Board of Control shall also attend all meetings of the Legislative Council, and the executive director shall act as secretary of the Board of Control.
Okay.
And
we've already been through how the Board of Control is elected and voted.
which is by member schools.
Yep.
Vacancies. Withdraw from the teaching profession, suspension or lapse of membership of the school representative, or removal from the athletic district represented shall immediately terminate membership on the Board of Control, and the vacancy shall be filled as provided below. Vacancies on the Board of Control shall be filled by the members of the Board of Control representing the grand division wherein the vacancy occurs. Such members shall serve until the next annual meeting of the member school of the grand division, at which time vacancies shall be filled by regular election.
Okay.
So a vacancy is voted on by the member schools. In the new TSIAA, the executive
So
board,
if Bernard Childress was to say, okay, I don't want to do this anymore, he doesn't appoint his successor.
no, he does not.
Okay.
And that's what I was pointing out earlier. Section 2 vacancies MTAC. Board member. League shall elect new board members when needed. A board member has the term of 2 years.
Yep.
There is nothing about that.
There's
in-
no term limits.
Under vacancies, Section 2 vacancies in the TSA bylaws, all it says is schools. Any school leaving TSA must be voted back into the league and pay all membership dues just as a new member and serve a probationary year.
Yep.
Copy paste.
Yeah, same copy paste in there. Okay. I think they mentioned if anybody leaves TISA or TSSAA. I think I have to look at their vacancies. That's vacancies talking about the board itself, but I think
But there's no vacant, like on the MTAC bylaws, there's a portion for vacancies about the board members.
Mhm.
There's nothing on here.
Well, it's because they've already addressed it.
Exactly.
Yeah, because the only time there's vacancies on the executive board, somebody else appoints them instead of a vote from the member schools of the athletic association.
This might take a little bit longer than we thought.
So continue.
Okay. Article 4, meetings. Section 1, time and place. A, the executive director, John Horner, shall call regular meetings at the time and place agreed upon by the league to consist of a biannual fall and spring meetings. Those in attendance to these meetings should be only a head of school or athletic director only.
So that's the change.
What does it say?
Because remember, we've already established that they can put the letter in saying, hey, we want someone else to be our vote.
Right.
Okay. It just says the president shall call regular meetings at the time and place agreed upon by the league to consist of a biannual fall and spring meeting.
Mm-hmm. TSSAA, there is a section 6 called meetings. The Board of Control shall meet in August, November, January, March, and June. Other meetings may be called by the president of the Board of Control. The various the officio representatives shall be permitted to attend meetings and may provide input on behalf of their constituents, but shall have no vote and shall not be or remain present during any meetings held in executive session. Let me look and see if there's anything else. Some election on annual meeting. Those are elections and annual meetings. But what I will say is that, the Legislative Council shall meet in December and March. Other meetings may be called by the President. Same thing. Permitted constituents. The Executive Director shall prepare an agenda for each meeting of the Legislative Council, which shall include proposals from the regional meetings, proposals from any committee established by the Board of Control or Legislative Council, proposals from the TSSAA staff, any proposals submitted by the Chief Administrator of a member school to the Executive Director no later than 4 weeks prior to the Legislative Council meeting. The Legislative Council shall not consider any item not on the agenda prepared by the Executive Director. The agenda shall be published no later than 7 days in advance of a regular scheduled meeting of Legislative Councils. A few things to untake from that. TSSAA, I'm trying to see if they have any clause on here. Executive Director has to attend all meetings, which that's standard. Decision meeting. Let me make sure. Okay.
But there's nothing that's so. For instance, TSA says those in attendance should be either head of school or athletic director only. So no head coaches, unless they're also athletic director.
Yeah.
Or head of school.
Mm-hmm.
I would say honestly that kind of rules us out.
No, yeah. Well, let's see. I'm looking at regional meeting to see the TSSAA state. Regional meetings shall be held in November and/or December of each year at Jackson, Nashville, and Knoxville for the purpose of electing members to the Board of Control. All such proposals furnish. I'm seeing if there's any limit.
The point is, it's way more detailed about meetings and how many they're having and that side of it.
So what I will let's see, rules meeting. TSSAA also has a rules meeting for coaches. Principal.
And they do allow
that rules changes though. That's just the rules changes going into the year. It's each sport has them. They're saying, for instance, like if there was the tuck rule, if there was to be a tuck rule coming in the year, the officials meet with the head coaches and let them know. For instance, in basketball a couple of years ago, you weren't able to step into the free. We have some players at the free throw line can't step into the lane until after after the ball hits the rim, and they changed it to where it's like the NBA where it's as soon as the ball is released by the player and the free throw person shooting the free throw can't leave till the ball hits the rim. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Looking here, so the issue with that is, I mean, it technically says it rules us out, but legally the TSIAA, they're registered as a nonprofit corporation, so they are subject to. Let's see. So there are the TSSAA offers rules meetings online, which includes golf, girls volleyball, girls soccer, football, bowling, wrestling, girls wrestling, and basketball. They offer rules meetings online. They offer some of their stuff online.
But the media is a lot, like even with the over the past summer where they've been having situations of, trying to figure out what to do with everything going on. They've still allowed media there. They've allowed. They have a live stream, an audio live stream of the meeting.
I am looking. Okay, so here's the deal. There's a case in 2012 in the Tennessee government where a newspaper company sued the TSSAA because they were trying to get trying to get correspondence between the TSSAA and I believe a member school. And the TSSAA argued we don't have to release this information because we are not a government body. They were nonprofit. The Tennessee government ruled.
So what did the Chancery Court? What did the Chancery Court rule?
Let me pull up the article again because I was trying to find the specific Chancery Court.
So basically, this is the precedent for athletic associations who are nonprofit.
This is a precedent. So I'm reading from the Reporters Committee for Freedom of the Press. A Tennessee court has ruled that a private nonprofit athletic association is the equivalent of a government agency, making it subject to public record laws.
Okay.
So, therefore, we sent a records request to then MTAC, which now I guess we have to send a new one because the TSIAA.
I guess so, yeah.
But we'll send a new one. But legally, per the Public Records Act, they're supposed to respond upon receipt of that public record, which they didn't. It's been 2 weeks and we still haven't received anything. And they are supposed to provide the records within 7 days, or provide a reason of why they won't provide the records and whether or not their reason is covered under the laws. But essentially, unless it's extremely confidential information, like an active federal case that's going on right now, or an active criminal case or something like that. But for the most part, they're supposed to provide us the records.
What do you guys say?
TSAA also releases all their information, all their news, and everything through
we're getting
Twitter.
to that.
We're getting that. But the Tennessee Open Meetings Act, all meetings of any governing body are declared to be public meetings open to the public at all times, except as provided by the Constitution of Tennessee. And the board of directors, this is under I'm not going to read the numbers, but this is under Section B of the Open Meetings thing where they define it. The board of directors of any non-profit corporation which contracts with a state agency to receive community grant funds in consideration for rendering specific services to the public, it defines it, except such board meetings of the board of directors, such non-profit that are called solely to discuss matters involving confidential doctor-patient relationships, doesn't apply, personnel matters or matters required to be kept confidential by federal or state law or by federal or state regulation shall not be covered under the provisions of this chapter, which those don't need to be kept confidential under the state meeting notes, and no other matter shall be discussed at such meetings. So
let's move on. Let's keep this thing rolling.
essentially it says that for coaches them only, but legally they can't say that. That's what I'm getting at.
So again, Article 4, Section 1. Special meetings may be called when necessary, including scheduling meetings.
That's point B.
Yeah, as copy and
copy and paste.
Yeah.
Point B, copy and paste.
Okay, so you can call a special meeting, including a scheduling. So, like with this year, with everything going on, where they set the schedule and then everything happened, they had to redo the schedule, so they can call a special scheduling meeting. So that's a copy and paste.
Yep.
A is the president shall call regular meetings at the time and place agreed upon by the league to consist of biannual fall and spring meeting.
And there's nothing about those in attendance.
Does it say anything else on A? Is that it?
Does it regulate who can be in attendance?
No. On C, it says each school must have a voting representative at each meeting. A financial penalty of $25 may be imposed unless the president is notified prior to the meeting.
So there's nothing say in the MTAC bylaws. There's nothing saying those in attendance should be either head of school or athletic director only.
No.
Okay.
No.
So
does it say anything about meeting minutes?
That's C.
No.
Yeah, that's C. It doesn't say anything in there.
Nothing in the MTAC bylaws.
Okay, so TSIAA says
meeting minutes will be taken and available for review to member schools only and upon discretion of John Horner.
Which is also illegal because again, they're a government entity, and they are legally required to have their meeting notes and their agendas public per the Tennessee Open Records Act.
Which, to your point, TSIAA does that on their website. They actually put the agenda, and then they put the meeting minutes, which has the results of that agenda.
Yep.
And they put it on social media. They put it on all platforms of social media.
Yep.
And you can go to their website and find it very easily.
And there's a whole tab dedicated to it.
TSIAA doesn't done that. MTAC hasn't done that. They've been nonprofit since 2011.
So, Article 5, Finances. Section 1, Use of Funds. The executive director, John Horner will, it's hard to, John Horner will disperse funds as the executive board members deem necessary.
Okay, just take over, President will disperse funds as the board members deem necessary. So basically copy and paste.
So they added the executive.
Yes.
TSIAA this is under Article 5. They have a whole section laying out the responsibilities of the executive director, which I think TSIAA doesn't. They only have a few things. So it says here under Article 5, Section 2, under the discretion of the Board of Control, the executive director shall receive, hold, expand, and account for all funds of the association. It also mentioned something on the financial.
So that's
statement.
the same thing, though, because it says John Horner will disperse funds as the executive board members deem
necessary.
necessary.
But the difference is Board of Control, the member schools in the TSIAA determine it, but the Board of Control is just
an executive
group.
Exactly.
It also says here something about in their financial statement, all surplus funds shall be used as directed by the Board of Control. Again, the schools make the decision on that. Coaches must be paid entirely from funds approved by the Board of Education, governing body of the school, directors, stuff. So the point I'm making in that is that funds. Let's see. The executive director of the TSIAA shall execute annually a surety bond on $30,000 or more if the Board of Control directs, covering TSIAA funds held by them. The fee on this bond is to be paid from the association funds.
Hold up, Spencer. Go ahead and read B.
Okay, so B, under use of funds, John Horner and assistant executive director shall disperse funds when necessary that pertain to league spending.
So John Horner and Jordan
all
Flanders.
all board members shall vote on necessary matters that pertain to league spending.
So again, it is only the.
And it says all board members.
Yeah,
yes.
all board members. Which again, in those bylaws, all the schools.
It's a representative from each school.
Yep.
Section 2, recording funds. The admin treasurer shall keep accurate records of financial actions and should inform league officers as to its financial status throughout the year.
Copy paste.
Okay. The admin treasurer shall be responsible for an annual report in the biannual fall and spring meeting.
Copy paste.
Which I have experienced. I went to a spring meeting and they asked me to leave, and this was when Ray McFadden was president. They asked me to leave when they got to the financial part of it. So
which that's to my knowledge, that's what the TSIAA does. There are parts on their live streams of their meetings.
Well,
what they do is they say, I think they're saying we're going to discuss specifically confidential information. I think finances, they cut off the stream video and audio, and then they bring it back when they're talking about the
because
vote.
financials is completely different.
Yeah, finances can be kept private. I'm not arguing.
And when they discuss on the meeting notes and the agenda, they don't go into specifics. They just say we are reviewing the budget for such and such sport or such and such state tournament.
Yeah, and then
they don't go into specifics.
And then on the meeting notes it says reviewed this, and then maybe some stuff that's brought
but
up.
It doesn't go into
it doesn't
that's
say
the
numbers.
So. Right. Okay. So Article 6, Constitution and/or bylaw amendments. Section 1 amendments. The proposed amendment must be presented and approved by the executive board members.
Replace executive with elected, and that's the same. Copy paste.
I think it's I can look, but I mean I'm.
So the elected board members is basically executive board members, so it's basically copy and paste.
Right. Except they
There's
clarified what the executive board members were, and it's not a representative from each school.
Yes.
The part of that is secondary board members, and they have no say, according to this, in a proposed amendment.
And secondary board members, only 5 of member schools.
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Let me go B, C, D. Amendments. B. An amendment shall be passed by a 2/3 vote of all member schools. C. A voting member of a school must initiate the proposed amendment. D. An amendment will go into effect at a determined date.
So it doesn't say how to propose an amendment. And let me back up. When it talks about secondary board members, the secondary board, it never says you can't be part of the executive board and the secondary board.
So you could be both.
You could be both. I'm just saying that's there's nothing in there. It says there will be no It says shall be appointed after application is sent to the executive board for approval. So
And it says that
So if
in
you're-
yeah.
so if you're Joey O'Day, you could send a application to the rest of the executive board, and they can appoint you to the secondary board.
And it does say on the TSIAA bylaws, let me make sure I read this right. No individual can serve as member of the Legislative Council and the Board of Control at the same time. So I think technically the Legislative Council is the secondary. I mean, that'd be equivalent of the secondary board, I guess, or something like that. But it covers that. It says you can't be on both at the same time because
Right.
that's a conflict of interest.
Okay, so that's. Do you have anything else under Constitution?
And again-
I do
amendments?
not.
And again,
Okay.
it also says in there, because of it presented and approved to the executive board members, MTAC schools. They got to vote on the proposed changes and bring the amendments and that kind of stuff. They bring the power.
And it
but
has to be
all
proposed by a member school.
Yeah, it says on here the proposed amendment. Anyone can propose it
Yeah.
now, at least from what it's saying on there. And it says it's the
Any
five.
member school.
It's the 5 executive board members. Nobody else, not the schools. Just
Yeah.
the 5 who
They
are
are the one.
permanent.
Yeah, and there's nothing about how to propose it.
Yep. All
And
right.
that's just the Constitution, boys. That's the first 5 pages. So in 45 minutes, there's the Constitution.
An hour.
Uh,
Oh, 4 minutes. My
yeah,
bad.
almost,
My bad.
almost, yeah.
55, yeah, pretty much.
All right, now to the bylaw. Now to the.
Which has been a lot of digressing, but
yep,
whatever.
yep.
Okay, so bylaws. Article 1, regulated sports. Section 1, sports offered.
I think we're the same there. We don't have to read all this because we're on BFOS.
Well, I'll read through it, and then you tell me if it's
Okay.
copy and paste. Middle school and high school sports shall be offered and controlled by TSIAA. Board members shall have the authority to add or eliminate a sport by majority vote. It doesn't say whether it's executive board or secondary board. Sport offerings are subject to change. Current offers are fall 8-man football, volleyball, cross country, winter basketball, spring varsity boys soccer, co-ed middle school soccer, baseball, golf, and softball. Note: co-ed middle school soccer shall require a minimum of 2 girls on the field at all times.
They have eliminated tennis.
Okay.
Yeah, at least at the moment.
As well as, is there anything about bowling?
Bowling is not in
Okay,
here.
so it's just tennis.
Yeah, and sponsored sports at TSIAA has a lot more than MTAC does.
Oh
but
yeah,
they say
lacrosse,
yes. Yeah.
swimming, like
Yeah.
they're
Let me just
wrestling.
read them off. Baseball, girls softball, basketball, bowling, cross country, football, which is 11-man, golf, tennis, track and field, unified track and field, girls volleyball, soccer, and wrestling.
So Unified thinks co-ed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah.
I think that's 13 sports if I count correct.
So again, the only point in this is the board member. It doesn't specify whether it's executive board or secondary board.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't. It's copy and paste from here.
Article 2, spectator control and sportsmanship. Section 1, responsibilities when hosting athletic contests. The homeschool in any contest, and not homeschool, like the hosting school,
Yes.
shall be responsible for hosting visitors, including the game officials. The home school should provide a changing station for the visiting school. It should also provide protection for game officials from fans and incidents if the officials feel the need for protection. Any infraction on this rule may be subject to an offending school or its representative to discipline by TSIAA.
Copy paste.
Okay, so it's supposed to provide a changing station for the visiting school.
I'm making sure that I got. Oh, they actually added this year to the TSIAA handbook. In addition to these bylaws, states that schools who have not submitted their confirmation of sports should meet. Okay, that's actually not it. I thought it was.
Okay,
Di-
so letter.
TSIAA will promote sportsmanship to develop good citizens. The coach and principal of each school, of the schools participating in an athletic contest, shall file a report immediately with the state office if there is any unusual incident involving poor sportsmanship during or following a game on the part of players, coaches, school administrators, game officials, or spectators.
I
I
think
think
that
it's-
comes later.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is just talking about the fact that you have
Oh,
to.
they have a whole section on sportsmanlike conduct. So there are
Yeah.
athletes ejected.
That's probably
Football.
That's
yeah.
later on, but this is talking about your responsibilities when hosting. It says you have to provide a changing station for a visiting school, and then protection for game officials.
TSIAA is very big on sportsmanship, so I wouldn't be surprised at 7 8 pages.
B,
Yeah.
when the conduct of spectators, athletes, coaches, or any other person is not representative of TSIAA, the host school administrator or athletic director shall have the authority to stop the contest and warn the offenders.
Ooh.
Upon repetition of the offense, the administrator or athletic director may resolve the situation according to his or her best judgment. We do want control of our league, but officials must have the authority over the contest at all times. For conference tournaments, the elected league officials will serve as game administration. So I'm guessing
Copy
elected
paste.
league officials
Includes the secondary.
would be the secondary because the executive is not elected.
Okay, yeah, so that means secondary board members are the ones
And
who are
what
game
technically, if secondary board members have to submit their applications to the executive board, is that really an election or is that an appointment?
It's an appointment.
It's an appointment.
Yeah, an election means a yeah.
If it were an election, it'd be MTAC bylaws where all the school members vote on who gets put to the
Well,
board.
wait.
You could take a vote in the executive board, and then it
Yes.
could be.
You could.
I think that's why. If it,
That may be what they're okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that may be at least the thing there, but I.
So basically, you could have a outside board member who gets elected by a vote of the executive board, acting as a game administrator for a conference tournament.
exactly. So somebody from the outside could be an administrator.
Could be a game administrator who has the authority to stop a game.
No, I
contest
find that
and-
really interesting because it says the host school administrator or athletic director, any of those, any of them have the power to stop a game right there if someone says something
According
they
to
don't like.
TSIAA.
No, I'm talking about the TSIAA because it says right there shall have authority to stop the contest.
TSIAA has that too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know when that was the last.
TSIAA actually can gave the power to the principals to eject officials
They can the principals can eject them if they're
if they're out of order.
Officials
okay.
or the fans? Or
Both.
athletes?
Yeah,
Okay.
both of them. I just find that
So it's both.
I find it interesting that an athletic director who maybe does at least there's nothing in here about ejecting the officials on that power. But,
Well, okay, but it comes from. I think you have to get both of the principals, so both game administrators from both schools to agree on it.
Okay. Yeah, and the problem is, what if you have two schools that are playing each other and they don't have any league administrator there? Like neither of them are on the secondary board. That's the question. So you have no game administrator there, then what happens? I guess you just go with your athletic director or something. But if nobody's on the board, then
Just an
who's-
FYI,
Yeah.
Unified Track is regular track athletes acting as partners to Special Olympics athletes.
Okay.
Unified Track has been contested at the past two
All right.
TSIAA
Anyways,
sprinklings.
Anyways, is it a copy paste in the MTAC for the spectator?
Section
control thing?
B, you said it was?
Yes,
Okay.
B is. But I'm looking at the bylaws for the hospitality, and there's something missing.
Okay, so let's go through it. So hospitality, the host school must provide the following at game sites: appropriate locker room for visiting school,
Copy paste.
appropriate locker room for game officials,
Copy paste.
must provide game supervisor. Someone other than the head coach shall be in charge of crowd control, protection of fans, players, coaches, and game officials. Someone other than the head coach should be in charge of injuries, ejections, accidents, etc.
Copy paste. This is where it is. Game officials include, but not limited to, the referees of the contest, scoreboard monitor, and official scorekeeper. So that's okay.
That's
that is
copy
there.
paste.
Okay, never mind. I didn't see
You
that.
skipped
last
ahead
one.
of me. No, I'm just kidding. I'm messing with you.
The question.
I do like the rule that someone other than head coach should be in charge of injuries, ejections, accidents. I do like that
Yeah.
Yes.
because that could
could-
gives you I like
emotion, yeah. The question is, what is defined as an appropriate locker room? That's the big question because
It's got to have
to my knowledge.
It's got to go ahead.
To my knowledge, currently, the only school with a visiting locker, like an actual visiting locker room, would probably. I mean, technically, it's not a locker room, but I know Riverside lets visiting teams in the weight room.
Yeah.
CCS, I think they give them the bathroom on the other side of the field,
Yeah.
like the men's bathroom to change in. But in terms of legit locker room, Webb used to have one.
Does Ezel Harding have it?
They might.
I think they've
I
got.
think they
Um,
do. I think they do because I think it's down the hill.
Because they're also
Lancaster-
TSSAA,
yeah,
so
they have the one down the hill.
Lancaster has one.
Lancaster has one
Yep.
at the field house.
Smyrna Middle, yeah.
So I think for a changing
South
room,
Haven does. Well, the visiting players go in the men's bathroom,
a locker room is just somewhere where they can change.
pretty much,
That's basically
and
all it
keep
is.
stuff and
yeah.
everything.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, so technically okay.
right,
So
s-
D, sportsmanship.
Mhm.
Game officials and fans shall have no interaction during the athletic contest. Fans interested in a rule interpretation, score change, foul situation should contact their head coach.
Copy paste.
So fans at a game need to
Calm down.
calm down.
Yeah, well, more so. So, I guess if there's no things, fans interested in rule interpretation, contact the head coach, which
Yeah.
It happens.
Can't,
The game supervisor shall protect the game officials at all times.
Copy paste.
Fair.
The scoreboard monitor and official scorebook keeper shall be an adult for all varsity conference games and remain unbiased at all times. This means that they shall not cheer for their team or argue about an official's call.
Well, that's copy paste.
I remember.
But
yeah.
I'm getting there.
That doesn't happen.
No.
Well, yeah,
No.
I remember a situation in a. It was funny in a volleyball game where I remember a volleyball game that I was at where the scorekeeper for an opposing team was.
All games must have a game
engaging, yeah.
administrator. That's
Anyway.
added on YouTube.
Someone
All
said,
games must have a game administrator. I thought we went over that.
Okay, no. The question I had was, what happens if there is not if somebody is not on the board as a game administrator? Like 2 schools play that aren't on the board and they're there.
There's still game administrators.
I guess so.
So there has so someone, maybe that's where the outside board member comes in for the secondary board
Yes.
to be there, and also as more than likely an outside source that is unbiased.
Yeah.
So D, sportsmanship. We've already been through that. Down to 5. No artificial noisemakers are allowed during the playing of a game. During timeouts, quarter breaks, halftime, or any stoppage in play, a stereo may be played for cheerleaders, fans, etc. This must cease once the game resumes,
Copy paste.
which is fair.
Sorry, I was looking
Um,
up the YouTube
So
stream.
so the music, or they call it a stereo, must be may be played for cheerleaders or fans. Must cease once the game resumes.
During timeouts, any stoppage to play stereo may be played for fans, etc. Must cease once the game
Are you
resumes.
cheating and looking at mine?
I have it pulled up on the side. I'm just rereading it. That's interesting to me. That still allows teams. Teams like CCS to be able to play their music up, like blare it until the very last play. Which I mean, that's home field advantage, and most stadiums do that anyway.
Right.
But the difference is, at least with the NFL, they stop it once the team gets out of the huddle. So,
Right.
which is interesting.
So Article 3, player conduct, Section 1, player conduct. At a TSIAA event, unacceptable conduct such as student use, possession, purchase, or sale of drugs, tobacco products, or alcoholic beverages, along with acts of immorality and the like, shall result in immediate suspension of a student from TSIAA-sponsored events. This is a zero-tolerance issue. Reinstatement may be made at the discretion of the elected board members.
Copy paste.
So
which board member? So the elected.
who
one
is the
again?
elected board member? So if it's a copy and paste, again.
Oh, it is a
elected-
copy and paste, but it's
So-
overlooked.
So elected board members previously would be representative from each
schools.
school, from the member school.
So now.
So now who's this elected
So-
board member?
That's where secondary. I guess
Yeah.
that's where secondary board members come into play.
If there's an election in the executive board after an application's been turned in. I don't know. I'm just speculating,
That's the question.
trying to give them the benefit of the
That's a
doubt.
good question, actually.
B, vulgar and offensive language will not be tolerated.
Copy paste.
Any offenses should be reported to John Horner within 48 hours.
Copy paste.
Any conduct deemed inappropriate and not in accordance with TSIAA standards is subject to review by the elected officials, who will make a fair determination of the offense in question.
Copy paste.
And again, who are elected officials?
Who are the elected officials? Because there's nothing that talks about an election.
Next.
Any team member being ruled out of a contest by an official because of an unsportsmanlike behavior shall be disqualified from athletic competition for the given game and an additional 2 games, which is 1 during football season. When a player is disqualified, the administrator or athletic director of the represented school shall report the name of the player to John Horner. If Horner finds upon investigation that the offense was sufficiently serious, the offender shall be permanently disqualified until reinstated by TSIAA board members.
And again, which board members?
Copy
Executive or
paste.
secondary.
Yeah.
So that's like 6 questions so far.
I feel like speculating board members is a combination of both the executive and the secondary.
It's possible.
It's possible. There's a whole section the TSSAA has on unsportsmanlike conduct. In terms of student athletes being ejected, the officials will immediately notify the state office with a written report if players are ejected for unsportsmanlike conduct. In soccer, this does not apply if the ejection occurs as a result of a player receiving a red card for his or her second caution. In sports where registered TSSAA officials are not used, it will be the responsibility of the principal and or coach of the player involved to report this incident to the state office. On the ejection of the student athlete, the school will be required to submit a report on the actions of the player and any disciplinary action taken by the school. And they have the minimum penalty of 1 game for football suspension. Student athlete is also suspended for all levels of participation. In addition to what is presently required when a player is ejected for unsportsmanlike conduct, a meeting shall be held with the player, coach, principal, and parents or guardians prior to the player's next competition. Confirmation of sportsmanship meeting form must be sent to the state office by the principal. Schools that have not submitted the required confirmation of sportsmanship meeting form by the end of the sports season in which the violation occurred shall be subject to a $100 fine. It basically covers this stuff about where ejections occur. I don't think there's stuff about coach eject. I don't think there's. Oh, here we are. Any appeal requests regarding the ejection of players or coaches shall be submitted in writing from the administrator of a school, stating which playing rule was misapplied. It should be accompanied by $50. If the appeal is granted, the $50 will be returned to the school. But that section doesn't clarify. It says that they're supposed to submit the thing in writing. My assumption is here that it is submitted to the executive director.
Hey, Producer Jack. It's TSIAA. If you look at the description, by the way.
Thanks.
Okay, so we did A, B, C.
We got D and we got E.
D. Any conduct determined inappropriate and not in accordance with TSIAA standards is subject to review by the elected officials who make a fair determination of the offense. Okay, we've already been through that part.
Yeah, I think we went.
So down to F.
Yeah, and I read F, and it's the same, but you can go ahead and read it.
During the disqualification period, it shall be at the discretion of John Horner whether or not the player is allowed to be on site during the suspension. For purpose of definition, not being on game site means not being on school property or game site property during the entire contest. This includes both a women's game and men's game and any JV middle school games that take place. So just completely staying away from the sport.
TSSAA says in all situations where ejections occur for unsportsmanlike conduct, the individual will be removed from the next contest or contests following the one in which the ejection occurred. If the individual plays in a subsequent contest after being ejected for unsportsmanlike conduct, the minimum penalty shall be increased by the amount determined by the state office. So it doesn't say anything here about not being allowed to be
They
on
can be on the bench. But
yeah, they can be on the bench. So because that I think I'm trying to remember. There was one situation where I think it was the Riverside FCA game last year where there was one of their they didn't eject. Well, actually, no, they didn't eject the kid. They just gave him a 15-yard penalty. But it's one of those situations where, per those rules, if a kid gets ejected from a game, and he supposedly can't be on site, then if he doesn't have a ride home, what does he do?
Yeah, exactly.
He's got to stay in the locker room. So that the reason this happens is because especially when you get to unsportsmanlike ejections, most of the time it's because tempers flare and everything, and it's good just to separate them, get them off the field. That way, it's kind of like. It may seem harsh to some people, but it's just to get the situation to de-escalate.
Yeah, I understand that. It's just one of those situations. I think with an ejection, the ref could go up to him and say, "Hey," and possibly explain, "Hey, where he's ejected, does he have a parent to give him a ride?"
Well,
off the
and then
property?
if you're doing that, what if the not saying that this happens,
right?
But what if the coach says no, he doesn't, and he just stays on the sideline?
And that's the question of if he doesn't ride, then the coach then he could tell her, okay, just have him sit in the locker room and not come out of there.
It may be also up to the game administrator.
Yes.
Yeah, it's probably the game administrator
to take care of that situation if that's not the case.
Yeah. And to clarify,
because when a player is disqualified, the administrator or athletic director shall report the name to John Horner. So I would assume he would also be whoever it is also part of the solution instead of just saying, "Oh, you're gone. Good luck."
Yeah,
exactly.
I
don't know that many people are going to
be giving that as
would be like that.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would be in that situation either.
Player and coach penalties. This is section 2. A coach's ejection will require 2-game suspension, 1 during football, and a $250 fine.
Copy paste.
A player ejection shall require a 2-game suspension, 1 game in football.
Copy paste. Coaches
can appeal the ejection within 48 hours with a written report turned into John Horner. Schools may provide video if available.
Copy paste.
And then game officials must provide a written report for both player and coach ejections.
It's specifically on coaches' ejections. There's a separate section on that in TSSAA. So the school and coach, they have to submit a written report for the incident, either face further disciplinary action, or remove the coach for a specific number of contests and pay a $250 fine. The school shall not allow the suspended coach to attend games while under suspension.
Okay.
And it also says there the coach has to have a meeting with the principal. They have to submit a meeting form, otherwise a $100 fine. And there's the subsequent ejection. It's removed for another specified and a $500 fine, and he's not allowed to attend games.
So there's nothing in here about if it happens a second time, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
in TSIAA bylaws.
Yep. Oh,
or MTAC.
I find that interesting. If the coach is ejected from the contest and an assistant coach or an employee of a school involved is not available to continue as coach, the event is terminated and forfeit to the opponent.
Yes. So
That's interesting.
usually what happens is you have your assistant coach. If he gets ejected, then you usually have your other coach. But if they get ejected, then the principal, who is the game administrator, comes down. And if he gets ejected, which means
I have a feeling this has happened at some point.
it
in
has.
The history.
It's happened at our high school. Where one of the
Oh boy!
where one
Story
of the
time.
No, where one of the principals. Well, I wasn't there. It was this like where one of the principals had to come sit on the bench and be one of the acting coaches
in
Yeah.
basketball.
in basketball.
Yeah, that happened FCA Riverside in a playoff.
I feel
game
like it's
where one of
easier to
the-
get a coach ejected in basketball.
Well,
Oh, it
yeah,
is.
because
Okay.
it's
Oh, see, another
totally
thing is. Okay, how do I say this?
Just say it.
Like the coaches are closer and more are able to talk with the officials more
Yeah.
Yeah.
because the game's a faster pace, but there is
It's a
more
closer
stoppages.
environment,
It's
right.
a
It's
closer
closer,
environment.
right.
Everybody's on top
Yeah,
of each other.
that happened in FCA Riverside in a basketball game where it was Coach Adams who was leading the middle school team in the playoffs, and I think he was just upset at some of the calls that were going, and he got 2 technicals and he got ejected, so he had to go to the locker room, and then Coach Pettit was there, the athletic director at the time for FCA. He stepped up and he constantly says, "In my defense, we went on a 17-0 run when I went to head coach." So he was like, "Hey, so I mean." But anyways, it's happened before. So if there's nobody who's a staff member of the school, maybe they'd consider me staff if I was broadcasting the game. I had to act as coach or
knows,
something. I
who
don't know.
knows?
Who knows? Anyways,
All right, so Article 4, player eligibility. Section 1, school attendance. A player must be a full-time student, at least 4 instructional hours per day for homeschool students of the school he or she is representing. The headmaster principal of each school is responsible for confirming each student-athlete's scholastic schedule. Instructional hours may include dual enrollment or collect courses on a college campus.
That's copy paste.
Okay, so it must be a full-time student
At least 4 hours.
or at least 4 hours for homeschool students of the school he or she is representing.
Actually, it says a player must be a full-time student at least four instructional hours per day.
So it does not say of the school he or she is representing.
Yes.
Okay. I'm looking to see if there's any. To be eligible, students have to be regularly enrolled in regular attendance and carrying at least 5 full courses or the equivalent. A student is eligible to participate in football, volleyball, cross country, golf, and girls soccer prior to the beginning of school if the student is enrolled at the school and meets all of the eligibility requirements. A student shall not participate in athletics during any semester unless he or she is duly enrolled on or before the 20th day of the semester. The rule shall not apply to transfer students who have met the attendance requirements in the school last attended.
And they have to.
And
yes.
there are academic rules. There's a separate
Yes.
section for that. So.
They do have to be at school for half a day.
Yep.
On game day.
So section, and obviously TSIAA won't really. Well, I'm sure they have a section that covers homeschool because you can homeschool and
They do.
play for the sport.
They do.
That's actually newer.
Yeah.
So actually, read that off because there's
Homeschool?
nothing else in here that talks about. Sorry, my bad, dude.
let me see. Let me see where.
My bad.
Let me see where homeschool is.
For
I'm-
context, James just popped his knife out.
It's one of the ones that's a spring. I'm just saying. Okay, so there is a section. Okay, so let's go over homeschooled in a little bit because
Okay.
there's a specific section for homeschool, so we don't need to go over it at the moment.
Okay.
So section 2, age. Any athlete upon entering his or her freshman year for the first time shall only have a total of 8 semesters, which must occur consecutively of eligibility of varsity play. An athlete is ineligible for varsity play if she or he turns 19 after August 1st of the giving school year.
After or before?
If turns 19 before.
Okay. Copy paste.
So basically, it doesn't just say the school is. Well, the school would be ineligible for postseason play, but the athlete is ineligible for varsity play.
Is that essentially copy paste, Zach?
Yes. That's copy paste.
B, classification. What does it say about age?
I'm looking here. There's an 8-semester rule, which is the same
Right,
thing.
same
8
thing.
semesters of athletic eligibility.
It's the same.
8th grade participation. Okay.
Cannot
No
participate.
student shall be eligible to participate in any athletic contest during any school year if he/she becomes 19 years of age on or before August 1st. The age rule may be waived for the Tennessee School for the Blind when this school is competing with other schools for the blind, provided such schools are permitted by their state associations to waive the age rule in competing with other schools for the blind.
Right.
So they only have that very limited exemption for Tennessee School for the Blind, but everybody else, August 1st.
So classification, high school consists of participants 7th grade through 12th grade.
Oh, they
Seven?
say 7th through 12th?
Yes.
7th through 12th?
They changed it. It used to be 8th through 12th grade.
What does it
participate in high
say?
school.
Classifications, high school consists of participants 8th through 12th grade.
They lowered it.
to 7th.
That's actually huge news.
So you can put
That's-
7th grade.
That is huge news.
So you can have, so your typical 7-year-old, 7th grader, 7-year-old.
They better not.
Your
7-year-old better not be in high school
Age
football.
and
I tell you that
grade.
right
There's
now.
age and
Okay,
grade
so your
change.
typical 7th grader is going to be, what, 14?
No, less than that,
13?
right?
I was
I graduated.
I was in 7th
Producer
grade.
Jack.
I was in 7th grade in 2011 to
What
2012.
year?
12,
How
13.
old were you when you were in 7th grade?
12, 13.
I was 12.
I was 12. I was 12 and then 13. 13 for the last 2 months.
I know you've slept since then.
Because I
Yeah.
turned.
How old were you in 7th grade?
What were you?
I was 12.
Yeah, it's about
so
12,
12.
13.
So you could put a 12-year-old on a varsity field versus an 18-year-old.
Yeah, that's
Whether or not
Jeez.
a coach does that is a different story. But allowing that,
Wait,
that's
And the
wait.
18-year-old is technically
13.
legally an adult.
13. No, it is 13. Because
we need to give Jack a mic. I gotta start giving him
what
a
went
mic.
through my
We've
mind
got
was
the just do the handheld.
Yeah, we'd have to set it up and everything. But
third.
anyways,
I went third. I thought of when you're high school, you're 15, 16, 17, 18. So that's your 4
So they're
years.
allowed.
So you're
So you can
14.
be 14 or 13 and play in a varsity game.
Yep, that's interesting. And TSIAA, it's 8th grade.
I would be interested in finding out the reason for that rule change. Just throwing it
And
out there.
participation of an 8th grader shall not reduce the number of semesters a student is allowed to participate after enrolling in 9th grade. So you could technically do 10 semesters, I think.
So
as an 8th
actually,
grader.
it was lowered last spring.
For who?
MTAC, according to Doug Hazley.
So Hasley.
Hasley, sorry. Thank you.
So they lowered it. What was that?
He said the intention was to keep small school teams alive. Soccer requires 11. That's hard for small
So this
schools.
isn't so much a football rule as it is.
It's more soccer.
And again,
but
all these rules are going to all the sports.
Yeah.
We understand that. We're looking at it from the football side.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and that you bring up a valid point. That's interesting. It is interesting. But yeah, 7th through 12th grade, and then all right, let's continue.
Some interesting comments.
Yeah. Junior varsity.
Classification, junior varsity. This level of classification is for all sports, which it didn't say that in B. All sports and intended for developmental purposes. It is expected only freshman and sophomore participation. However, exceptions can be made for juniors after prior communication with opposing athletic directors.
Yes, copy and paste.
I don't think TSIAA does junior varsity.
No.
Oh, yeah,
No.
they do.
No, they do.
Well,
Yeah,
they
they
do.
do.
It
They do
says-
freshman and
I was
junior varsity.
I was JV all 4 years
They
in high
do a
school.
Okay.
They do freshman teams too.
All
If you
right.
got a whole bunch of freshmen, they're dying. Classification: middle school must be 5th grade through 8th grade and must be under 15 before August 1st.
That's copy paste.
Okay.
Game eligibility.
Game eligibility. It is the suggestion of TSIAA that in a single night of football or basketball, a student only plays 6 quarters, or in soccer 3 halves. This suggestion is made for the student athlete's safety and well-being. Does not address volleyball. I'd be interested.
That is
How do you do
copy
volleyball?
paste.
Yeah, I don't think there's a recommendation in here for TSIAA on a length of participation. I don't
Well,
imagine they may have.
They're going to let those kids play as long as they want.
With volleyball, there is more of a break
True.
between sets.
True.
Yeah.
And
Between
that could be their
set-
thinking.
And you never hear about a set going like 7 sets. Like it
Yeah,
yeah.
it just keeps going. Anyways,
I think it's only 5 sets is the max.
yeah, let's keep
And
trying
you
to
get a tie.
plug along on this graduation.
Graduation. A player is declared ineligible if that player has received a high school diploma or equivalent from any high school institution. No exceptions to this rule shall be allowed.
Copy paste.
Will be allowed.
Same thing, TSIAA.
Yeah,
if
I
they
mean, you
graduate
can't be
from
having a
senior.
Yeah,
kid
you
with a
can-
high school diploma
Yeah.
who's more likely to. Yeah, that's just common sense.
Yeah.
Section 5, transfer student. All transfer students must be submitted and cleared for play by TSIAA.
That's copy paste.
Member schools. And I know TSIAA has transfer rules, so let's go through the transfer rules on these two, and then we'll see what TSIAA.
Yep.
Member schools. A transfer student is ineligible for varsity conference play for 1 year from the date of transfer unless a hardship exemption is granted by the executive board members of the conference. A high school transfer student who did not participate in any athletic team at his or her previous school during the prior school year will be deemed eligible.
That's copy paste.
Okay. When it talks about the hardship exemption, who is allowed to grant that in the old ones?
Board members of the conference.
Okay.
So yeah, again, the schools.
So the
it
schools,
granted it,
right.
But now it's five executive board members.
I don't think you can use that mic if. Oh, okay.
Anyways.
I need to bring my other mic. I've got like a handheld mic. Anyways, okay. I digress. Non-member schools. Transfer student who is transferred from a non-member school to a member school must sit out for 2 weeks. Must sit out for 2 weeks and is eligible on day 15. The 2 weeks start from the official enrollment date given by the school if the student enrolls after the school year has begun. Any student who enrolls prior to the start of the school year is immediately eligible. A letter of good standing and state of enrollment date must be sent to John Horner upon transfer.
That is copy paste.
So the TSIAA added a rule this year. Article 2, Section 13, ineligible transfer students. The section making students ineligible for 12 months in all sports if they transfer a second time in their career has been removed.
So you can transfer. What about after your first transfer?
Let's see. A transfer student is any student changing schools for any reason other than having completed the highest or terminal grade at another school. A student who must change schools because he/she has completed the highest grade at his or her previous school is not considered a transfer student and is eligible to participate in athletics at any school he/she attends without further approval, provided he/she satisfies the residence requirement above. Let me look again and see if they. Yeah, students shall not participate 20th before the month. Doesn't apply to transfer students who met the attendance requirements in school. Okay, let me see here. Student changing schools. A student changing schools for any reason to be eligible must live at home with his or her parents or guardians unless A, the student is moving to a boarding school and has no athletic record the previous 12 months in any sport. B, the student is moving as a direct result of the dissolution of the student's home due to death. C, the student is moving as a direct result of the divorce of the student's parents. Or D, the student is moving as a direct result of the separation of the student's parents, provided a complaint or petition for absolute divorce has been filed with a court having jurisdiction to grant the divorce.
So it's very
It's laid out.
Yeah,
It's very laid
detailed.
out. Yeah.
Every situation in TSIAA's bylaws
Has come from
64
Yes.
pages. I hope it is.
Yeah. And if something doesn't come up, then they vote by the board. But
Postseason
this is interesting. This next one on postseason play. This is interesting.
Section 6 postseason play. To compete in postseason play, all players are required to have played or have been eligible for play in 1/4 of the regular season conference games.
That is a copy paste.
So again, all players are required to have played or have been eligible to play in 1/4 of the regular season conference games. So if that were applied this season, 25%. If somebody transfers in for anybody in the North, just to pick an example here, just randomly, Christian Community. If somebody transfers into Christian Community from another school and they get approved by John Horner, then all they have to do is play one game because of playoff qualifications. Because I assume regular season conference games means the ones that count towards the playoffs.
Well, but then the other question is it just your division games? We heard speculation about your rivalry game with the other division. Like, how does that work?
Yeah,
that's part of it too, and that this doesn't address that.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing it's not any of it, and I'm sure it talks about tiebreakers later on. Section 7, eligibility forms, official game rosters, and official game schedules.
Jessica Bezhurst
must receive rosters 2 weeks before the first game of the season.
League administrator.
Yes.
Additions to rosters may be made through John Horner before the player competes in their first TSIAA game.
Copy paste.
Failure to submit a roster by the due date will result in a potential forfeit of their first conference division game to be determined by the TSIAA board and a $25 fine per day until a roster is submitted.
Copy paste. The only thing they added was of their first game, in which didn't have to be could have gone without being said.
So potential forfeit of the first conference division game. So from what we've heard from sources, there are a lot of schools who didn't turn in their rosters on the due date, and I can understand because of
So what's the due
coronavirus.
date? There's nothing that says due date.
I believe it was original. Well,
yeah,
it
but
doesn't
there's no
say it
due
there.
date in these bylaws.
No due date in those bylaws, but going by.
Is there a due date in it?
Must receive rosters 2 weeks before first game of the season.
Okay, so the first game of the season technically
It's different
would be
for
the
each-
conference first game of the season. I'm assuming the first
guess so.
like the first day of conference play.
Yes.
So if TSIAA or whatever, if they say okay, first week of conference play is September 11th, you have to have received the rosters by what was it August 25th or no
I think the
August
rosters-
25th.
The rosters were
Like
technically
August
August
8th or
1st, but it depends on the first conference day of play.
Right. So it depends on when they say the first day of conference play is what I'm assuming. Let's see. Eligibility list, D. An eligibility list consists containing the name of each student who is to participate during the season of each sport shall be filed online prior to the first contest allowed by the sports calendar for each particular sport. If a student whose name does not appear on the original eligibility list wishes to become a member of the squad, the student's name shall be filed with the conference before the student is allowed to participate. Failure to file the eligibility by the date required shall result in a $50 fine.
That is copy paste.
Okay. Filing schedule reports. Member schools shall file with Jessica Bezhers, yeah. I'm just going to point at you to say the name because I don't want to butcher it. With her, a copy of the schedule in each sport. Schedule shall be filed prior to the date of the first contest allowed by the sports calendar for each particular sport. Failure to file the schedule by the date required shall result in a fine of $50.
That is copy paste.
So that means the schedules have to be reported by a certain date, but their rosters, based on the language of it, I assume it's either the first day of play or their first matchup that determines playoff seeding. That's my thought process on that. So that schedule has to be turned in in advance, but then roster has to be turned in just before your
based
first
on
game.
that schedule.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no across the board date. It's just it has to be turned in by the 2 weeks before the date of whenever you start playing.
You mind if we kind of cliff note over these next two sections because they're pretty standard? Physical exam, parental consent, and grades.
Yes.
Okay. Basically, that's standard across the board. Everybody has to have a physical. Everyone has to have a medical evaluation, and required that no student permitted to participate in practices or athletic contests until there's something on board. And then the difference is, let me just make sure here with the TSSAA. It says in
What does MTAC bylaws say about the league strongly under grades? The league strongly recommends that a player maintain average GPA of 2 or a C average. Each member school will have its own academic requirements, which will not be monitored by the TSIAA.
Copy paste.
Okay.
Let me see what they say.
So
on
they're
here.
staying out of the athletics side of it and just having the member schools report to them.
Yeah, its own academic requirements. Yeah, and as far as I could see on TSSAA, they don't regulate that your student athletes have to have a certain grade to be able to participate.
They leave it up to like an honor system of the school to regulate their own. Okay, this kid is ineligible because he's been failing in school.
I think it is
here's
a C.
here's their fact. The school passing mark is 70. At the close of the first semester, an athlete has a grade of 80. At the close of the second semester, the grade is in the same subject 65. At the end of the school year, the two grades are averaged, and the student is allowed 1 unit of credit. May the subject be used in meeting the academic requirements? Yes. So
Okay.
there are grading requirements. I guess it's a C.
So the thing is, if
Shout out to everyone who's been with us for 93 minutes.
if I remember this correctly, which there's
Sorry,
possibility
Producer
I'm
Jack.
not. There's a
We love you.
there's a possibility I'm not remembering this correctly.
Making sure everything sounds good.
Mhm.
Sorry. about that.
So you have to have. Did it say 5 classes?
It said something about at least 5 classes.
So you have to have at least
yeah.
5 classes. But if you're failing that one of those 5 classes, you are ineligible to play until you get that to a passing grade because you are not you're not technically eligible because you're not
Mhm.
on track for that 5 courses.
Yeah.
All right. So, Section 10, homeschooled students.
Okay. This is going to be fun. All right, go ahead and go through all of those and go through all the policies on there, and I'll tell you.
You ready? This bylaw establishes the minimum eligibility requirements for a homeschool student desiring to participate in extracurricular activities at a TSIAA member school.
Copy paste.
Next.
They didn't even spell. Okay, it literally verbatim says in extracurricular athletics at a Tennessee Independent Athletic Association member school. There's no state, and athletic is lowercase.
Yeah,
Anyways,
they misspelled.
Anyways. A, the student shall be enrolled in a homeschool umbrella program that is being administered by the member school in which the student wishes to participate.
Copy paste.
Okay. The student must be taking a minimum of 5 academic subjects or the equivalent administered by the member school's umbrella program that counts towards graduation.
Copy paste.
The student must be registered with the head of school of the member school by August 1st of the current school year.
Copy paste.
The participating student must have a legal residence of 25 miles of the member school with which he or she wishes to participate with.
Copy paste.
By August 1st of the school year, the parent or guardian must take application for participation under the umbrella of the member school must make application in which the homeschool athlete wishes to try out and participate.
Did you say August 1st?
Yes.
It's changed. It
What
went
was
from August 15th to August 1st.
Okay.
So,
I'm not done.
sorry.
Not done. I'm just.
You keep pausing.
The homeschool athlete shall meet the same academic and conduct standards required of the member school.
Copy paste.
In no event shall a homeschool student be eligible who is not receiving the minimum 4 hours per day instruction under the member school's umbrella program.
Copy paste.
The member school shall shall provide verification of academic eligibility to TSIAA each semester.
That's copy paste.
The homeschool student must provide proof of basic primary medical insurance coverage and liability insurance coverage, which means TSIAA as the assured party in the event the school's provider does not extend coverage to the homeschool student.
Copy paste.
So you're required to have your own insurance if the school does not cover you.
Mm-hmm.
The homeschool student must meet all other TSIAA eligibility requirements.
Copy paste.
TSIAA member schools and organizations will be allowed to use one umbrella program. This program must be identified to TSIAA before the start of each school year.
Copy paste.
Okay. All right. Is that all of them?
Yes.
Okay. So homeschool and the TSSAA. A homeschool student, they define it in here. Homeschool is a school conducted by a parents, or legal guardian or guardians for their own child. To be a homeschool for the purposes of this bylaw, the child must be registered with the LEA that the child would otherwise attend if she were not being homeschooled. The homeschool must be operating in compliance with the law. Director of schools shall mean the chief administrative official of a public school system. In the case of a private school, the responsibility of the director of schools are to be carried out by the head of school or chief administrative official in that school. Minimum eligibility requirements. The student shall be enrolled in a homeschool conducted by his or her parents or legal guardians. The student must be taking a minimum of 5 academic subjects or the equivalent administered by the parent or guardians which count towards graduations. These course requirements may be met through an umbrella program. The student must notify the director of schools or head of schools of a private school by August 1st of the current school year. Legal resident within the school district where he or she is registered, if registering with a public school. If registering with a private school, the student must have legal residence within 20 miles of the private school and meet all tuition and financial aid requirements. By August 15th of the school year, the parent or guardian must make application for participation in athletics to the principal of the member school in which the homeschool athlete wishes to try out and possibly participate. Same academic and conduct standards required of a member school student athlete to participate in their athletic program. The director of school shall confer with the parent or guardians conducting the homeschool to determine that the homeschool student is academically eligible. If the homeschool student's course of study do not include 5 academic subjects or the equivalent, which are being administered by the parent or guardian, the directors of schools or their designee and the parent guardian shall develop an alternative measure of academic progress and submit it to the TSSAA for approval. In no event shall a homeschool student be eligible who is not receiving the minimum 4 hours per day of instruction administered by their parent or guardian. In no event shall a homeschool student be eligible who has fallen 3 or more months behind the student's appropriate grade level. Proof of liability insurance. The LEA may impose a participation fee. A homeschool student participating at a private school must pay full tuition and abide by all financial aid rules. For the purposes of the rule, full tuition is defined as the same amount paid by all of the students enrolled and in regular attendance at the school.
Wow. So if you're a homeschool student and you want to play for a private school in TSIAA,
You have to pay tuition.
you have to pay full tuition.
Yeah.
Wow.
A homeschool student must meet all other TSIAA eligibilities. The eligibility issues may be appealed in accordance with the bylaws. Homeschool athlete must adhere to the same standards of behavior, responsibility, performance, and code of conduct. Ultimate decisions on team rosters are left to the member schools. And then there's some stuff about transfer in there in terms of the homeschool stuff.
Okay. So
Anyways, homeschool umbrella program that is administered by the member school in which the students wish to participate.
So pretty much it's a copy and paste from MTAC bylaws on this whole section.
Yes.
Okay.
So the question on that, the student must participate within 25 miles of the member school which she wish to participate with.
Is there a way to appeal if you live 27 miles?
The question is there an appeal? The question I wonder is the question I wonder because Franklin Christian Academy, they have their umbrella program that they have schools coming in with. I think Franklin Classical has their umbrella program that's the
It's a classical school, so I don't know that it's a separate school or if it's umbrella.
The question is that their umbrella program, because like FCA has their own umbrella program that's called the FCA umbrella program, and it's homeschool students that there is curriculum directed through their office.
Right.
But the question is, the classical school that's affiliated with Franklin Classical, is that an umbrella program or is that a co-op? And we're about to get into co-ops, but is that a co-op?
Yeah, that's the question, because if it's a co-op, you have a roster limit.
And the other question is, with that co-op situation, so are you allowed to do umbrella students and a co-op? That's what I wonder, because FCA does that with West Academy and as their umbrella program. I would assume I don't know. That's a question, because they didn't address those in the MTAC bylaws. They didn't address those in MTAC, and probably not in those. But all right, so co-op teams, which actually that gets right into the co-op situation.
Co-op. The express purpose of TSIAA allowing schools to co-op in sports is for all involved schools to soon grow into their own exclusive programs. With this in mind, there are two situations in which the officers, so who are the officers, may give consideration to cooperative applicants.
Is that the executive board or the secondary board?
Facts. If one member school is unable to field is that the first part?
That's copy paste.
Copy
Yeah.
paste. Okay. If one member school is unable to field a team for a particular season because of a low player numbers, that school may appeal for consent to send its players to another member school with an established program to play that season. Teams wishing to co-op must submit in writing a request to co-op at least 30 days prior to the start of the season. This written request must be submitted to John Horner.
That is copy pasted.
The elected board members, again.
There's
elected
something
board
stated
members,
there, yeah. Again, which is elected.
Yeah. Is it the secondary? Who knows?
Yeah.
I almost 100% guarantee this is copy paste too.
Which is an issue if you change. Yeah. Elected board members will consider appeals on a case-by-case basis. Any consent given to such an appeal will be valid for one season. Renewal of such consent must be sought on a season-to-season basis.
That's copy paste. So I wonder if they meant to change it, they just copy and pasted it, and they just forgot to change it.
That's happened a few times.
And if that happens, then your whole
This is your bylaws.
then you have to completely change your bylaws. Which
again, you have to amend them.
you have to completely amend them, and you can't just go in there and make subtle changes.
You can't
'cause
just
that's-
cut. Yeah, you can't just edit it.
No, because that's against that's against not federal laws, but like
Well,
local and
it's
state
also
laws.
not local and state laws, and also because they're a nonprofit organization,
Yes.
you have to formally amend those, and you have to have a quorum to amend those. And it questions again with the amendments who proposes that and who does that. But anyways,
The following limits are effective on total roster sizes of multi-school co-op teams for given sports: football 25, basketball 15, volleyball 15, soccer 20, baseball 20, softball 20.
That is copy paste. You said football 25, correct?
It has
Yes.
it has the numbers on the MTech
Yes,
stuff?
it has
Okay.
numbers on.
So first off, TSIAA and co-op programs. They added this year. The rule has been changed to state that 2 schools may request to form a cooperative agreement if one of the schools has not had the program for the last 2 years.
No, that's not new. That's been there.
Okay. It says approved for the 2020-2021 school year. I'm going literally.
Yeah, but just because
Says
it's
right there.
approved for
Yeah,
the school
yeah,
year, that
the-
doesn't mean it was added.
Because
Fair.
for instance, our high school didn't have track and field, so what we did was we would send our students over to Eagleville in the or
Yours being
Central
community.
community
Yeah.
going to Central,
Yep.
and then another one, Central Magnet football. Central Magnet doesn't have a football team, so they'd send their players down to Eagleville.
All right. The TSIAA, they define a cooperative team as 2 member schools forming a single team in a sport in which at least one of the schools does not have a team and has not had a team for the previous 2 years. Let me see what they're rolling. Only 2 member schools in the same division may petition the TSIAA for permission to have a cooperative team. And again, if one of those schools hasn't had one for the last 2 years, the executive director of the TSIAA may approve such cooperative programs subject to approval by the principals of the schools involved, the governing board of the schools involved, and the board of control. So again, the schools have the choice on that.
Well, it's talking about if both schools want to do the co-op.
Yes, but it also is saying they're subject to approval from the principals involved, the governing board of the school, both schools involved, and the board of control. So
Okay.
again, the school
So-
board of control has to have the final say on that.
So
at least
this
the board.
says the elected board members will consider appeals on a case-by-case basis. Who the heck is the elected board members?
Yeah,
Is that the
yeah.
secondary?
Yeah, and again, it's that question there, and then. What schools may a member school of TSIAA play? But anyways, here's the deal with co-op. What I'm interested about is the limit on roster sizes with
Hey,
co-ops.
Check this out. Being told the TSIAA co-op used to be 1 team inactive for 5 years, and they've changed it to 2.
They changed
Which
it
makes
to-
more sense.
Makes a
Yeah,
lot
yeah.
more sense.
Yeah, 'cause
exactly.
it's 2 years. So, but what I'm interested about is the roster sizes on the co-ops,
Yeah.
and it gets into what I said earlier about co-ops.
Well, let's
so.
look at what we're going to do after these bylaws is look at each school that's involved in football
Mhm.
and just compare them to the bylaws and see what's off. But I want to we need to get through these bylaws.
Yeah.
Article 5 tournaments, Section 1 sanctions. TSA board members, is that executive and secondary or both, must approve tournament sites. TSA will copy and paste.
Yes.
It says MTAC board members.
Yes.
Okay. TSA will receive 75% of ticket sales, 25% to the host school after expenses.
Copy paste.
Host school will receive all revenue from additional sources surrounding the tournament. Documentation of expenses must be submitted.
That's copy paste as well.
Okay. So the only thing in there is it the executive or secondary board members?
Yeah.
Section 2 withdrawal. Teams participating in TSA regular seasons are expected to participate in the postseason tournament. Failure to appropriately withdraw from the tournament will carry a $500 league penalty plus any other fine deemed necessary by TSA executive board members to cover the host school's expenses.
The only difference is it says failure to appropriately withdraw from a tournament will carry a $500 league penalty plus any other fines deemed necessary by the MTAC president and or board members to cover host school's expenses.
So it's executive board on that. So it basically includes that. They
But
just
it seems like some places they remembered to change it to executive board members, and then some places they just didn't.
they just didn't check everything.
A lot of copy and paste.
Anyways, tournament seating.
Section 4 tournament seating. Teams will be seeded by their overall and or division conference record. And if there are other tournament formats, TSA will approve the fairness in the TSA seeds.
That's correct.
Copy
Copy paste.
Section 5 ties. In case of ties,
Don't get me started
Wait,
on
wait,
this.
wait. This, look at B.
under tournament seating.
Yeah. It doesn't feel like, was this, okay, did they do this? Because it feels like what y'all were talking about, this didn't happen.
What's that?
What?
Are you talking about under tournament seating or ties?
Under ties, B.
Okay.
Head-to-head competition against the highest seed
so
to
let's-
continue to the last place seed. I'm
We're
sorry.
getting there.
In case of ties for seeding the tournaments, the following procedures will be instituted. Head-to-head competition during the regular season.
Copy paste.
Head-to-head competition against the highest seed to continue to the last place seed.
Copy paste.
Flip of a
Kinda,
coin
yeah.
by John Horner.
That's copy paste.
So they
Run through the tiebreaker things for TSIAA.
Okay, hold on. First off, So tournament-wise, Division 1 is all member public schools. Division 2 is all member independent schools. Take notes. That's how Division 1 and Division 2 should be set from the beginning.
But
Yeah, that's how it should be set from
That
the
only
beginning.
ha-
James just said boom in the back.
that only happened a couple of years ago.
Yeah, well, it still says it in there in the
Yeah.
bylaws anyway. Set the divisions prior to the season instead of based on overall win-loss record.
Oh yes.
Okay. My thing just went. Tournament competition. Let me scroll through. Let me see if it had. Let's see. Award rule suspension from tournament play. Where is there? Award rule. Ineligible contestant.
So usually what happens is I don't know. I don't think it might be covered by that. Usually what happens is it's up to the conference to determine how to do tiebreakers.
A member school that wishes to host a tournament or meet that involves out-of-state. Okay, that involves out-of-state teams.
I think it's up to the districts to figure it out.
For each sport, rules in regards to tournaments where applicable begin with the school's elimination. Yeah, because I'm looking. All tournaments shall be held on consecutive days with no other regular season games being played during the tournament unless permission is granted by the executive director. Definition of the tournament there. Maximum number of tournaments is 4. Oh, that's calendar stuff. Tournaments. Yeah, they have a lot of notes on here about the sports calendar. Okay, I think the rest of these are. Wait a minute. Share in tournament receipts. 18% of the gross proceeds from district and regional. They name a bunch of different sports here. 18% of the gross proceeds from all the sports mentioned shall be paid to the TSSAA after all expenses in connection with the holding of the state's tournaments in all the sports listed have been paid. The retention and/or disbursement of any remaining funds shall be determined by the Board of Control. And I'm pretty sure on the TSIAA it says it's determined by the executive board, right, or executive director.
What was that again?
So it says on here, after all expenses in connection with the holding of state tournaments in all the sports there, the retention and/or disbursement of any remaining funds shall be determined by the Board of Control. What does it say? It does say Executive Director John Horner.
Doesn't where is it? Doesn't really talk about location.
It talks about share in tournament receipts, just basically about the finance stuff. Then it goes into the questions. So I think
We're
Zach.
almost done.
The NTAC will receive 25%, 75% of the ticket sales.
So TSIAA gets more.
Gets about 57% more.
Now there are invitational tournaments. I think
Those are different.
Yeah, those are completely.
That's completely different. But so how TSAA does their tiebreakers is up to the districts to decide.
Okay. Yeah, tiebreaker wise, the districts decide those individually. Okay.
And then once it gets to the state tournament, they throw them all in a big ball.
Okay.
And then draw them.
Okay.
I
yeah.
think.
Okay.
I think that's how it works.
Yeah. That is fair because of the amount of schools that are in there.
Yes.
This is a 10. We brought it up over and over from 2017. They still. Okay. So let me ask you this, James. Head-to-head competition against the highest seed to continue to the last place seed. I'm guessing that's is that division record, you think? Because if that's the case, then if all
I'll tell you one thing, it's very unclear.
But you know what that means? They removed the head-to-head. So imagine all the division records. Let's just give an example here. MTech
Well, no,
South.
it says head-to-head competition during the regular season,
Okay, so
then
it's head-to-head first.
and then it's head-to-head competition against the highest seed to the last place.
But what if you say you're in the south? Say you're in the south, and each team goes 1 and 2.
Well, they can't go 1 and 2 because there's 5 teams eligible.
But you can still have a
there
three-way
five?
tie, technically.
Yeah, there's 5 playoff teams, so you're playing 4.
So close.
Yeah, there are technically 6 teams in the South. One of them is not playoff eligible, so it's 5 teams playoff eligible.
Oh, wait, I
Top
meant the north.
North 4, so they only have.
What if
so
they all went 1 and 2?
if they all go 1 and 2, well, it depends on what their losses are, but it comes down to what we had in 2017, where FCA beat Swanee, Swanee beat Webb, and Webb beat FCA. They're all the same record, and they're all the same head-to-head in that 3-way tie. So it's a 3-way coin.
So
flip.
technically,
Listen to this.
it should have been how all of them, their record in the South.
Wait. What if Christian Community beat Sacred Heart but loses to Lighthouse Christian in South Haven.
Well, CCS
And
has
then-
already beat Sacred
Wait,
Heart.
no. Just hypothetical.
Okay.
Sacred Heart beats Lighthouse but loses to South Haven and Christian Community. And then Lighthouse loses to South Haven. Wait. Yeah, okay, no, that can't work.
That's literally the same scenario I'm giving you where in 2017, FCA beat Swanee, but they lost to Webb. Swanee lost to FCA, but they beat Webb. Webb lost to Swanee, but they beat FCA. It was a three-way they were the same record in division. They were the same record in division. It was a three-way coin flip. That's the same thing under these bylaws. It's just reworded a different way, and they flipped around A and B.
On the coin flip, is it like if it landed right on its side? one
No,
team
it's like if two of them flipped. I think if two of them, whichever two flipped heads.
No, it was the odd one out.
Yeah,
so
odd
if
one
both
out
of them
was what it was.
If whichever ones were both like heads and tails, it was the odd one out, and then they went by head to head. But again, coin flip in the third tiebreaker, it's ridiculous. Why don't they change it?
Points against.
Points against, yeah. Just put it on your defense. And if you're worried about coaches trying to run up the score or anything, just put a 35-point cap on it. And if every single team is matched up after that, maybe a deeper layer. But at least at that point, it's almost impossible.
But another thing you have to think about is is only going to be going against, for instance, if you're in the North, the only points will be going against in the North. You're not taking the full season. So
right. And
everybody's going to be playing the same team, so you don't have to put that cap on it.
Well, the only reason I say put the cap on it is because they're worried about coaches running up the score.
Okay.
Which they could because they're wanting to make their defense look in a worse light and help it for them in the playoffs.
But in
also-
2017, when that situation happened, there were no run-up scores in
because
any
it
of those
wasn't
games.
a tiebreaker scenario.
Well,
Because
no,
it wasn't a rule.
but-
No, but I'm saying in that three-way tie, in all those games, there was no game where the score was run up. The highest was like Webb beating FCA by, I think, 17 points, and that's it.
But if it's the three-way tie, for instance, in the North, if you have that three-way tie of the four teams, all those three teams, they're all playing that other team. That they can run.
I
So they're all
understand
playing that
that,
same.
yeah.
They're all playing
They're
the same
all
school.
playing the same one, and you could tell about their division. I get that. But I'm talking about from the board side of what they gave us is that points allowed, points against, is their worry is about coaches running up the score to benefit them in the long run of the playoffs, and they'll have that in the back of their head, which none of us agree with in here. At least James and I don't. We don't think any coach is going to think in the field, oh, I need to rack up the points so that I could get higher seeding in the playoffs if we lose a game. Because you just win the game.
The only time that it will come into play is the last week of the year.
Right.
And then if that happens, then they're going to be keeping track of what all the other teams are doing, and it'll take away their focus on their
Or
game.
listening to our show, where we're keeping track of stuff.
Facts.
Anyways, at the end of the day, they need to change this tiebreaker. They literally need to get the now executive board and secondary boards. They need to put them in a room and say, heck, honestly, we'll host you here at the Grace Point Healthcare Studios. We'll let you sit in here. It's a good conference room and everything. Sit in this boardroom and don't leave until you have deeper tie-breaking scenarios. Look at college football. Look at the SEC's tiebreakers. Look at the NFL's tiebreakers. Look at all of
You want
those.
to talk about the big boys.
You want to talk about the big boys. Change the tiebreakers to where it's deeper than the third one is a coin flip, because this has happened twice where in the case of St. Andrew Swanee, that's probably part of the reason that they decided to close football, was because they couldn't compete for a state championship. And that's because both times they were on the bad side of the coin, which they shouldn't be. It's unfair to the athletes.
All right, so
Anyways, I'm sorry.
we're
I
on
get really
We're on
passionate.
page 12 of 15. Boys.
I'm going to say the only thing that I want to take from the referees article, or in Article 6, it says the one thing that was added, it says referees are responsible to the host school. Copy paste to my knowledge. Right, Zach?
Yeah.
All right, you're taking my job.
Well, I'm trying to get through these faster because
I'm
you keep
ready.
reading them slow.
Relatives of fine. Relatives of participants, school staff, sponsoring church, or former graduates shall not officiate for that school with the exception of volunteer line judges for volleyball games. Matches. Officials shall not call more than 3 consecutive games per night in tournament play.
Is that copy paste?
That's all copy paste.
Okay.
All referees must come from an approved
That's new.
association.
I'm pretty sure it is. Does it say that? Is there an Article D in referees? What does that one say?
All referees must come from an approved association.
Okay.
The Joran Horner will be notified of the association that provides game officials for each school.
It
Copy
doesn't say that.
paste.
It doesn't say the executive director approves of it, but they're supposed to be approved. So who approves of them? Who approves of the association?
Facts.
Is it the board?
Big facts.
Uniforms. It's you.
Uniforms. Home uniforms will be lighter color than the away uniform. Football teams use the reverse of this rule. In football, home team wears a darker jersey. Uniforms are to be numbered properly. NFHS rules for uniform numbers are used. The game officials reserve the right to make the official call for fairness in the spirit of the game.
Copy paste.
Copy paste.
Section 3, communication. Athletic director, head coaches must communicate via email or phone at least 1 week prior to a game and confirm times, location, and dates. This is not solely the responsibility of the host school team nor the visiting team. Both teams are responsible for the communication. Directions should be provided during this communication. If your school is sponsoring a function, homecoming, senior night, spirit bus, etc., the communication should be sooner than a week from the game day.
Copy paste.
In case of inclement weather, the home team must communicate to visitor AD the day of the relevant game if the canceling of the game is in question.
Copy paste.
Section 4, canceling a game. At least 72 hours notice must be given when canceling a game. If there is not proper notice, the school will be fined $100 plus the cost of the officials for the game or games.
Copy paste.
Oh, that's copy paste. Sorry, I thought you could keep going.
Short notice school closure in the event of a dangerous weather condition, power outages, etc., will not be subject to this rule.
Copy paste.
Violation would constitute a fine equal to the amount of the cost of the officials for the game canceled.
Copy paste.
An offending school wishing to appeal must do so with John Horner within 48 hours after the scheduled start time of the canceled game.
Copy paste.
If either school is unable to reschedule, the offending school will forfeit the canceled game.
Copy paste.
This rule applies for either the host team or the visiting team.
Let's copy paste.
Section 5, canceling a season. If reported to John Horner less than 30 days before the sports season, a $500 fee will be applied to the school that pulls a team out of TSIAA.
Copy paste.
Canceling a season may result in a school being placed on probation as determined by John Horner.
Copy paste. Wait. Canceling a season may result in a school being placed on probation as determined by the intact president and or board members.
So it's only John Horner now.
So now Horner has sole power over that.
In terms of if he wants to give a school probation in the playoffs or not. Instead of, and again, what it said with board members, said with
well, it doesn't
member
say anything about
schools.
playoffs. It just says whether or
Well,
not
it
put in
says
school
probation, and probation, I think it was clarified earlier that it includes the only way that they can
being able to participate in the postseason.
I think we could skip over playing rules because it just says follow the National Federation of High School Sports.
As well as regulation, what rules to use.
Yeah. All right, protests.
Protests. Section 1, violation of TSIAA rules. Any protest against a member school for a violation of TSIAA rules shall be made in writing to TSIAA office within 72. Again, where's the TSIAA office? Where's the TSIAA office?
It's on their public record.
It's Grace Point Medical Center.
No, it's not Grace Point Healthcare.
I think there's an address on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has an address,
It's
but
a nice house.
no, it has an address, but it's it's on that
So
public
is that
record.
the official office?
I don't think. I mean,
the
I don't think
question.
so. Because you look at the history on the Middle Tennessee Athletic Conference, it was signed to school addresses. Like it had Bethlehem Loop Road, which was FCA's former
Yeah.
building before they got their own.
And
in
then it had Webb.
2014. It had Webb's, and then it moved to again. It's public record. It's public record. Anybody could.
This
search it
isn't
online.
digging. This isn't. Yeah.
It's just the Secretary of State Business Information Search, and
Exactly.
it literally has it on.
All
the
you got to
filing.
do, literally, is search Tennessee State.
Yeah, Tennessee
Independent.
Tennessee State Independent in that business search, and it's got an address on there. And like you said, like you said about the house, but
Public information.
yeah,
Information including the known facts, sources of information, eyewitnesses, and the time such information became known should be included in the notice. Such a protest must originate with either the administrator or athletic director of a member school. Failure to render the report will not relieve the offending school of its responsibility, and such negligence may jeopardize the standing of any official and or any school for withholding evidence.
Copy paste.
The elected official shall conduct an investigation after all information has been obtained, and a ruling will be determined whereupon all parties will be notified. The final decision will lie with John Horner and officers on any and all protests.
Copy paste.
again, who are the officers?
Exactly. Decision. Section 2, decision of contest officials. Protests arising from the decisions and interpretations of the rules by game officials concerning a game will not be honored. Their decisions and interpretations are final. Official timers, scorekeepers, and other personnel required should be high school students or adults.
Copy paste.
Copy paste.
So I think that Major League Baseball, I think, is the only major professional sports league that allows you to protest games if it's the rules are not interpreted correctly. I thought you could in NFL. I don't think. I don't think so.
I think he.
I
Yeah,
know that. I
I
think
know-
the NFL can do it in a very limited case. Like there was the case with the NFC Championship game. Somebody asked about that rule interpretation, and the rule book.
We're gonna get producer
yeah,
Jack Capello.
yeah. No, the
It's a bang.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. It was that there's a specific bylaw that the commissioner cannot
We're on
reverse
page
the
13
results
of
of
15.
he cannot reverse the results of a game based on an officiating call.
Yeah,
so,
that's right.
So that's kind of standard. I know
they're just boss.
Major League Baseball allows you to do that for
At
officiating.
Yeah,
least
'cause
we're
I
not doing TSIAA. 64 pages.
all the judgment calls. Like for instance, I know Tennessee, University of Tennessee, they protested against Missouri a couple of years ago on a couple of onside kicks.
Stupid Missouri.
That was a dumb game. But
Anyways,
go ahead.
Article 9, reporting contest results. Section 1, reporting contest results. The home team is responsible for reporting the results of the games. Reports will include the final score, including individual game scores in a series match, the date of the game, and the location of the contest. A report must be sent to Jessica
Yep, Jessica Bezers.
or John Horner within 24 hours of the contest. $15 late fee per game, an additional $5 per day fine paid to the league will be assessed and must be paid in order to be eligible for postseason play.
Copy paste.
Copy paste on all four of them.
Yes, sir.
Article 10, imposition of penalties. Section 1, interpretation of penalties. A, probation. A school on probation is on a conditional TSIAA membership. An individual or school on probation may engage in regularly scheduled events of TSIAA. A school on probation may enter tournaments if the school is placed on probation for reasons other than rules infractions, i.e. new members. So if you are a new school on probation,
Then you can participate.
so
in
you were
both.
voted in after the scheduling meeting, you can participate in the postseason.
That's under the new rules. Does that say that in
copy
MTech
and
one?
paste.
That one. Okay, so that means Sacred Heart was eligible even if they had that. I think didn't the bylaws say something about it before the scheduling meeting? I thought
Yes.
there was something about the before the scheduling meeting. So, okay.
So-
Well, here's a probation with sports postseason suspension. Maybe it's in there.
A school on probation is on a conditional TSIAA membership. An individual school or sport on probation may engage in regularly scheduled events for TSIAA. Depending on the severity of the probation, a suspension may be placed on an individual school or sport. The individual sport or school may not participate in any postseason competition sponsored by TSIAA. It is expected that steps have been taken to alleviate the problem that caused the individual or school to be on probation. Any violations while on probation will result in suspension and or loss of membership participation.
It's copy pasted.
So
Let me read the probation. A school on probation is on a conditional MTAC membership, and an individual school on probation may engage in regularly scheduled events of the MTAC. A school on probation may enter MTAC tournaments if the school is placed on probation for reasons other than rules infractions.
Okay.
So wait,
Okay, so that was on the rules before. To my
Yes.
knowledge, 2018 Sacred Heart, they were not at the original scheduling meeting. They decided to join in. They had another scheduling meeting, which made them eligible. So I guess I got the rule interpretation wrong.
which again, they're allowed to call a special meeting, including a scheduling
Yep.
meeting.
Yep.
According to 2017 bylaws.
Yep.
And
It's
these
dark
bylaws as
outside.
well. I
Sorry.
know, we're hurrying. C, suspension. A school suspended from TSIAA may participate with other member schools. If those schools agree to do so, the school may reapply for membership after 1 year has passed. The individual or school will be eligible for play after the elected officials have approved application.
Who are
Who's
the
the
elected
elected
officials?
officials?
copy pasted.
All right.
That's
fees.
probably why. Article 11, fees, membership fees. We're going to skip this.
It's
Uh,
400,
one thing I will
650,
say.
300.
One thing I will say, it says fees must be paid to the league office, which I guess is on that public record, is technically their league office, before league play may begin. So,
That's copy pasted.
Where's the league office?
yeah. All right, and then
Is it in Antioch?
now this is a really interesting part. What does it say on MTAC things of scheduling requirements? Does it say? Does there a bylaw in there?
Is
that
it
says
really
scheduling
interesting,
requirements?
Spencer? Or
Yeah, it is.
MTAC competition. A, teams are required to play all other member schools once or twice as assigned by the league prior to the season. The league will denote which scheduled games will count toward each team's conference record.
Okay.
Tournament eligibility. Any team unable to fill Article 12, Section 1A will be declared ineligible for the postseason tournament. C, games postponed due to unforeseeable conditions should be rescheduled if possible. D, games not played for specific reasons must have cleared the approval of the
John
MTAC
Horner.
president
Yep.
of John Horner. However, If these games cannot be rescheduled, this will not necessarily prevent a team from playing in the postseason.
So it also says that players are required to be a quarter of their. So I'm guessing that verbiage is the division games is what they determine as their conference record. But the question is, are they going to regulate every conference
In terms
team
of
to play
football,
each other?
for football.
In terms of football, are they going to regulate that every team?
You know
has
what they
to play
should have
their own
done?
thing?
They should have taken their for the tiebreakers. They should have they should have tried to like make each play like for an incentive for each team to play each other. Say your record against the if you're playing the North, your record against the South.
Yeah, record against the North, something like that. But the issue is there are some schools who don't schedule enough games against teams in the South, and they don't play the same exact teams in the South.
But then you have to make a minimum of like maybe 4 games from the North or from the South.
Yeah, again, a minimum of four games.
Well,
so
if you were for instance, for this season, if you're going to say, okay, you have to play 2 games against the other division. Let's say you're in the South, you already have 5 games that you have to play. So you say 2 games,
That's
7 games. So if you start your season September 18th or September 11th,
like a lot of schools have done.
that gives you 7 weeks to play 7 games.
Yeah, so no bye weeks. That's what I think. That's what Sacred Heart is doing. They got that. They got like 9 weeks straight.
So boys, here's an interesting portion of this. Is the last article in the bylaws. Zach, what does the last article? What does the last section say?
About finance.
Like Part B.
Article 13, TSIAA finances, Section 1, financial practice.
A, the Middle Tennessee Athletic Conference account is set up to. Is it okay if I?
Yeah, it's
it's old,
public record.
old, yeah.
Oh, so
Well,
this is public
it's
record?
old bylaws.
It's
Oh, okay. Set up to Pinnacle Financial Partners, Carruthers Boulevard, Franklin, Tennessee 37067. Their phone
Yeah.
number is 615-640-4099. The account is only set up through the Impact President. B, a financial statement will be available to all member schools at the biannual fall and spring meeting.
Okay.
TSIAA account is set up for deposit of fees and payment of necessary items. The account is only to be set up through John Horner or Jessica.
Bezhurst. It
So it
doesn't
does
say,
not specify where the account is set up at.
Yeah, which I would.
Which, if they're
Which
making
the
it
executive-
public, which is if they're making it public, that's understandable.
I mean, it doesn't matter whether you know which bank it's at. I mean, you don't have to give the address to it. You could just say it's through Pinnacle.
That's true.
I mean, it doesn't matter in that regard. But I find it interesting they removed the available to member schools upon request. They only said meeting notes. So did it say something earlier about financial records going to member schools?
What do you mean?
The annual report for
Yeah, there's nothing
conference.
about annual report in here.
So so they're not letting the finances be looked at by the schools. At least
Well,
for those
no,
laws. They
go-
legally can't. But
Go to meeting. This is back in Section 2, Article 5, finances. Admin treasurer shall keep accurate records of financial actions, should inform league officers, who are the league officers, as to its financial status throughout the year. Admin treasurer shall be responsible for an annual report in the biannual fall and spring meeting.
So they'll be responsible. So Jessica will be responsible for an annual report. But the question is, responsible for it. Does that mean they give it to him? I would assume so. But
So, Spence, what are your biggest questions out of this?
I'll just be outright. John Horner has too much power. The schools don't have power
That's not
anymore.
a question.
What my big say?
Okay,
ask the
here's my
again.
question. Here's my question. Why is there a rule meeting minutes will be taken and available for review to member schools only and upon discretion of John Horner? Why is that the case?
It legally shouldn't be. But the question,
Touche.
probably because we sent that records request 2 weeks ago before they did the bylaws, and they
Maybe.
decided to make that because actually, before I sent that record request, like 7 days ago, I looked and realized I did investigative journalism, and I realized that MTAC is a nonprofit entity. And because of that case, I read to you all about the case between the Nashville City Paper and the TSSAA.
That precedent.
That precedent in
ruled that-
2012, the Tennessee government has ruled that a private nonprofit athletic association is the equivalent of a government agency, which makes it subject to public record laws. So when I realized that 3 weeks ago, I sent a message to the league president, John Horner, and I asked for a copy of the meeting notes and the updated bylaws. And he responded to me, not at this time. and I sent him a quoted.
Which could have been because they were updating this, but they
Exactly.
didn't tell anybody they were doing a facelift or
Yeah, from everyone we've talked to, they didn't tell anybody.
facelift in quotation
They
marks,
didn't
but
tell anybody they were doing a rebranding.
They didn't
as
tell
they
member
call it.
schools.
They didn't tell anyone. They did. The member schools didn't vote on it.
I would be
as we've
interested in
told.
finding out who specifically knew about this,
Yeah,
because that kind of tells you who this executive board is and who's in the little informational circle
yeah.
of this organization.
But so he responded not at this time, and I sent him a screenshot of the nonprofit situation, and I should probably start recording this stuff now because you're only hearing my side.
Yeah,
of
it's
it.
speculation.
It's speculation, but at least from I do my best as a journalist to report the facts. So here are the facts. I sent a screenshot of the nonprofit clause of saying that meeting notes are supposed to be accessible to the public. I get a call within 60 seconds. He tells me, "You don't have to tell me who we are. You don't have to tell me what organization we are. I told you I was going to give them to you, and I'll handle it." And I mentioned directly there are no public meeting notes since 2019 publicly available as per Tennessee law, so that's why I'm asking. And he mentioned I reserve the right to refuse to give those to you, which that's illegal. That legally, per the Tennessee Public Records Act, that is illegal.
So back
Yeah.
to Article 3, administration officers and representatives. Basically, you have a permanent president until he decides to nope out of this, until he decides he's done. That also goes for the assistant executive director, administrator, treasurer, and 2 board members.
Yep.
If you decide to leave, you appoint your replacement, and then it's approved by the other 4 board members.
Yep.
And then secondary board members are approved by the executive board. So it is now a very closed door. It is not the type of organization I would want to be affiliated with.
No.
I'll say that right now.
No.
It is baloney, and I'll leave it at there.
And the question again was with this rebanding because as far as I've seen from the Tennessee Bureau, the question is with their 2 separate organizations. Schools before the season, I heard an interesting theory. Schools before the season paid their membership to MTAC. They
Right.
didn't pay it to the TSIAA. The theory I heard is that they rebranded purposefully after the season started so that schools would just go along with it and not question it. Because in the middle of the season, they don't have the chance to vote on it.
Yep.
Which I think
you don't have a chance to vote on it anyways now with the rule. I mean, other than your secondary board, but
Yep.
what the heck does the secondary board do? What powers does the secondary board have?
The only assumptions we can make is when they keep referring to elected officials. The question is, and more importantly, it's only 5 people. It's 2 people from the outside. It's 5 members on a rotating basis from whoever's elected from the schools. So the problem with that is you're not giving every school
No, not
equal
elected from the
representation.
schools.
It's elected from
the schools say, hey, this person says, hey, I would like to be a member, or the school representative, and it has to be approved by this little secret circle of 5 people.
Yep.
Way too much freaking power in the hands of 5 people.
Yep.
Way too much.
Yeah. Not only that, but the amount of time. It scares me the amount of times that it says decisions are to the executive director. That scares me.
Facts.
It scares me.
100% facts.
It's not a democracy.
Yeah, it's not. I heard an interesting theory where
By a man who is not
an athletic
director,
not
not
a
head of
headmaster.
school.
He's a director of operations.
What the heck does it move desks around? I mean, what does it?
I don't know. I mean, here's the deal. I'm not questioning the responsibilities he has with his job. I'm sure he works hard at his job that he is paid for.
He can kill it at his job.
I'm sure
no
about that.
arguments there.
The problem
I'm
is,
sure he does kill it.
The problem is, again, the question that we had earlier about was he elected and how did he get on the board when he was not a athletic director nor a headmaster, and more importantly, how did he get to the presidency position? And more importantly, why is there not more outrage right now by not just board members,
Why are we
but
just
other member
sitting back
schools?
and going, "Oh well"?
Well,
Yeah.
I think everybody's still in shock right now.
Probably
It's like, well, this only happened on Tuesday.
Wednesday.
Wednesday. It's not-
Suddenly, and then they
So,
sent out an email.
Thursday,
which-
Friday, Saturday. That's only been 4 days, and it could be them member schools sitting back and like banding together or something. Like, hey, what are we gonna do about this?
Yeah.
Or if people even decided to look at the new bylaws.
Yeah.
They might have just said, assumed, they're just like the old ones. They just
They're not. Yeah.
rebranded bylaws. They might not even know about this.
Which is why it's important we did this.
All right, so grab the helmet schedule real fast. Grab the helmet schedule. Let's go through the members, and let's look at. We're going to do teams that are schools that are. Is there a list of? See, there's no list of member schools for MTAC.
No. They had it on their scoreboard website when they launched that in 2017, but they
So we're looking for, in terms of football, schools that are involved with MTAC football, whether you are the name or you are a co-op.
Oh, okay, yeah, you're looking at that stuff. Okay.
So let's look at that. So let's start at the top of the helmet schedule.
Christian community.
Christian Community, it's a brick and mortar school with a homeschool umbrella that I played for.
Yep.
And that is their only homeschool umbrella that I'm aware of.
That we're aware of. But the question is,
So that follows that follows the rules right there. And
Yep.
again, that we're aware of. It does,
Yep.
we don't know if there's another umbrella that they use or what. I'm just saying from
Right.
what we see, there you go.
all right, Lighthouse Christian School.
Brick and mortar school.
Yep.
I don't know if they have an umbrella.
They might have a homeschool program.
They
but-
might have a homeschool umbrella, but I don't think they do. So brick and mortar school, which means all of their players go to school there. And if they don't have an umbrella, is there another umbrella school that they use? Would be my question.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
So Lighthouse Christian, to my knowledge, is good. See, they don't have anything about an umbrella school, so I don't think
Maybe they have
Lighthouse has
homeschool students under them. I'm not sure. But at the end of the day, they don't have a co-op. That's at least what we've been. That's at least to our knowledge.
We've been looking for.
We haven't seen any. How many did the Lighthouse have at their game against Riverside? I think it was
like 11.
Yeah, so they had guys come. They had guys come out, but I don't think they're co-opted. Otherwise, they would have had. They would have probably had some more numbers of that. So I think Lighthouse is fine. We're safe to say that. South Haven, they're fine. They got their
Brick and mortar
homeschools,
school. They have a co-op, but they don't allow homeschool students to play in on the team.
Who are they co-opted with?
No, not a co-op. They have a
so
homeschool umbrella.
Homeschool umbrella. Okay, you said co-op. Yeah, so they have homeschoolers in their umbrella, and they're that brick and mortar school. Okay, that's fine. Sacred Heart, don't think
Brick
there's
and
co-op,
mortar
but
school.
brick and mortar. Yep.
They shouldn't have a co-op.
Yep.
Or a homeschool umbrella.
Yep. Homeschool umbrella. Okay, and that's the North teams, at least for this year. Ezel Harding.
Ezel Harding, brick and mortar. Pretty sure they don't have an umbrella. That would make them good.
Now Franklin Christian. They're a brick and mortar school. They have a
homeschool umbrella.
Yep.
They have a co-op
With
with
West Academy.
So the question is, looking at West Academy, do they and West is technically a member of the conference, but do they fit the qualifications to be the member of a member of the conference?
Let me look on their website because I've
got the
always
website pulled up.
So the
their
West
missions-
Academy West Academy Thunderbirds, their athletic handbook. Let me just look here. And
Well,
see.
I'm looking at their mission statement on the
Okay.
website. West Academy exists to provide an opportunity for homeschool students west of Nashville to participate in competitive athletics within TSIAA, which is another conference.
Yeah.
West Academy is a Christian organization desiring to consistently and continuously reflect Christ in our team, our group, and individual actions, believing each student. But so there's some other stuff.
Let me just look at I'm looking at their handbook. Let's see, academic and eligibility requirements. Because I'm trying to remember, is West Academy a brick and mortar? Because I know they're a member of the conference. That's the question. Let me look here.
Let's
'Cause
see,
is there anything on their website?
There's nothing on their website about a brick and mortar address.
Okay.
I know they play sports at several different. Okay, hang on. So basketball they play at a Baptist church in Dixon.
Yeah.
Volleyball to be determined. Soccer's in Dixon. Football they have the co-op with Franklin Christian, so they don't need to have a field for football.
Let me see.
So basically what I'm seeing, Spence, is West Academy is like the Tennessee Heat. Unless you see something Unless you see something that says
Let's see.
they have a brick and mortar location.
Let me see academic eligibility. It says something that must reside within the 30-mile radius. I think it has a picture on their website what that 30-mile radius is, but where's the radius to? Is it their basketball thing or?
Here's the picture of the radius.
Wait a minute. Academic and eligibility requirements for athletes. Athletes must be registered at Home Life Academy or affiliated with Home Life Academy. Is Home Life Academy a member of the conference?
I've never seen them be a member of the conference.
Then, if that's the case,
Then how is West Academy different from the Tennessee Heat?
well, more importantly, how is that? How are they able to be a part of the conference, but the Tennessee Heat isn't? Because
No,
the Tennessee Heat has multiple organizations involved with them from different places, but that's Home Life Academy. Athletes have to be registered with that, but they're playing for another program in
Now,
West Academy, and they're co-oping with another MTAC school. That's a triangle.
The bylaws do not say that a member school. See, here's the thing. If you look under member schools, where's that at? Membership, Article 2. Membership is open to all schools, so West Academy is not a school.
They're a program.
They are a Christian organization desiring to consistently, continuously reflect Christ and provide an opportunity for homeschool students west of Nashville to participate. So it's open to all schools. They are not a school. They're an athletic organization.
Yeah.
So they're no different than the Tennessee Heat, and technically no different than the Bowling Green Warriors this year.
And we were told by the MTAC vice president that because Bowling Green couldn't be affiliated with a brick and mortar school with Legacy Christian, that they are ineligible for conference play. So, what is the difference between West Academy and Bowling Green
And Tennessee Heat.
What's the difference? That's a question I have to ask. And more importantly,
That's a big question.
If that's Home Life Academy is not a member of the conference or that also has FCA's playoff
That
votes
means
in
to
the
play. Yeah, that means
because they had players.
that means all West Academy players playing for FCA are ineligible, and if FCA continues to play with those players, that's
they're ineligible.
That's an illegal co-op.
And another thing, co-op teams, the maximum total roster size of multiple school co-op teams is 25. So if they're co-oping, what was the roster?
Here's your thing
they
with
sent?
co-op.
What's the thing with co-op?
If one member school, they're not a school,
Yeah.
is unable to field a team for a particular season due to low numbers, they may send their players to another member school. They're not a member school.
But again, well, West Academy is they're technically a member, but they're not a school; they're a program. So again, what's the difference between them, the Tennessee Heat, and Bowling Green Warriors?
Facts. Big facts.
What's the difference? And what's FCA's roster size?
On their website, the roster's 31.
Uh-huh.
I would be interested in seeing their official league roster. The roster you got sent the other night.
Yeah, the roster we got was 31.
Well, but I'm saying the one you got sent for the South Haven game.
Yeah.
Did it have 31 on it?
Yeah. It was also I think it was the same roster that was on their school website.
So the question is that their official conference roster?
That's the question.
And if their official conference roster does only have 25, why do you have a roster with 31?
Right.
What's the
especially with the co-op.
I'm not going to speculate on
right.
that.
Yeah, but again, Home Life Academy, unless they're a member of the conference, I guess. But again, if athletes are registered with Home Life Academy, they're part of a program. Again, what is the difference between Bowling Green, West Academy, and the Tennessee Heat?
Yep.
What's the difference?
Okay, so
Anyways,
again, Franklin Classical, brick and mortar school. They have an umbrella.
They have that umbrella with the classical school.
So is the classical school a separate school, or is it just their
that's
umbrella?
The yeah.
And if that's the case, they're not. Are they a co-op or not?
Yeah.
That's a big question.
That's the question. All right. Yeah.
Lancaster's brick and mortar.
Lancaster, yeah, brick and mortar. I don't think they have any. They may have some.
They might have an umbrella.
They might have an umbrella, but I don't. They're not.
Providence is a brick and mortar. I don't know that they have an umbrella.
Don't think so, but they're not co-opted with anybody. Well, Providence isn't even eligible for the playoffs this year because they have.
So that doesn't matter.
Yeah, that doesn't make any difference.
Well, folks, there's your TSIAA bylaws and Constitution compared to the old MTAC bylaws. A lot of questions.
We forgot Riverside.
Riverside brick and mortar with a homeschool umbrella.
Yeah.
What about Ezell?
He's all Harding. We mentioned their
brick and mortar. Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah, so we went through all those.
So
But
there
yeah,
you go.
There's a lot of questions in there. Again, it's just looking at those. There's a lot of questions. There are a lot of legal issues and all of that.
And I'll say right now, I know that this stream has been going for 2 hours now, a little over 2 hours, 2.5 hours. If you've listened to this whole thing and you're here at the end, I have and if you're listening live, first off, thank you for staying with us.
Yeah.
Second off, I challenge this executive board of director, I challenge you to issue a response.
Yeah.
Video, written, whatever.
Yeah. Or come on the show.
Or come on the show and let us ask you point-blank questions, not pre-scripted.
Yep.
And answer the questions honestly. Challenge you to do that.
Yeah.
Bet.
Yeah, and we'll ask you the question to give you an outlet to be able to answer it to all those people who want to know. So, anyways, yeah, it's gone on long. It's been interesting to look at all these things. It concerns me when a nonprofit organization
does explain why they wouldn't give you bylaws for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah,
they were making new ones.
Well, not even that. Not even so much that. Not even responding where legally they are supposed to give a prompt response upon receipt, and then within a reasonable amount of time, which is usually seven business days, give a response as to why.
Which is almost 2 weeks.
Yeah, which is almost 2 weeks technically. So it's concerning.
Well, again, thank you all for listening to this special edition of Extreme Radio.
Yep.
It's been long. But
been
hey,
fun.
It's been fun. It's been very informational and very good to go through all this.
Yep.
Big shout out to producer Jack.
He's been waiting a long time.
He is the
yeah.
man.
Hey, this replaces our long All-Star Game show.
There you go.
Because we usually have that one per season where we stay late.
And now it replaces it. There
All
you
right.
go.
Yep, the challenge is out there. We'll let you come on the show and answer the questions. Anybody from the TSIAA and just answer the questions or
There's more questions than answers on that thing.
Yep, exactly. All right, that signs us off. We'll see you for this weekend's games and
Friday
Extreme
night,
Radio
Providence
next
FCA, boys.
Yep, it's going to be good.
Boy.
All right, signs off. Thank you.
See y'all.